most
People out there.
if not better than
It'll
Lost
be
Boys.
interesting to see this year, 'cause
Good
they're champions
evening.
now.
Welcome to the School Building Committee meeting for September 25th, 2012. Would anyone from the public like to make a statement? You're good, Doug? Okay. All right.
Right.
Since we do have a quorum present, we will go over and approve our minutes. The first one is from September 11th, 2012. Everybody get a copy?
I didn't abstain.
You walked out.
You walked out. I did?
You weren't there.
Oh, okay.
You weren't.
I had a
Yeah.
phone call, that's
Yes,
correct.
You weren't there.
Okay.
All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes for September 11th, 2012?
So moved.
Any discussion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain.
All right, next, the building committee minutes from September 18th, 2012. Short. Anyone like to make a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Any discussion?
I second it.
Wasn't September 18th last Tuesday?
Yes.
Yep. Well, there was no quorum, so there was no meeting.
No, all right, so we don't have to approve these minutes then. Thank you.
Is that right, Mike? Yeah, I wasn't there.
Were there any votes taken?
No, no, no,
No,
no.
it was really a
No.
working session.
No, it was just a working session.
I mean, I would hold those notes though, just in case
Yes.
there's any question.
They will be
Nope,
kept
we do. We
in.
file them all. We have notes from every meeting, so.
You probably just write on it, no quorum.
I
I
did.
Okay.
We're
It's
good.
on there
We
too.
did, and it's on there.
It's on there too. Okay. All right, and then, do you have the paperwork?
I have the.
All right,
Want me to read it?
yep,
This is the,
town attorney.
the town attorney Kopelman and Page for $157.50. And it was just some questions that were asked that were affected the committee
That's
about the
a deal.
vote.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's pretty,
Wow.
what they work, 15 minutes? That's pretty cheap.
Basically.
Oops,
Every
sorry, guys.
question is a lot of money.
Only kidding around. Only kidding.
So would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
All right. To approve?
A motion to approve.
Why don't you read it so we
Yeah,
can?
why don't you read it and I'll.
You know what, when they're attorney bills, we don't read them out loud, but
We just do the dollar
because
amount.
sometimes they're confidential, the attorney, so it's the amount of $157.50.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Motion carries. Okay.
Okay, so I'll pass this around to sign.
Correspondence, old business. All right, so we really haven't heard anything further from the MSBA, correct?
No, we've made a couple of inquiries, both phone calls, and we sent an email today indicating we had a meeting tonight, and if there was any information, we'd like to hear it, but unfortunately, there's been no response, so. They indicated at the time that they would attempt to get the language to us, to the group, prior to the board meeting, and the goal was to try and have a general consensus on the language before the board meeting, you know, time is running out, the board
Right.
meeting's a week from tomorrow. So we're still pressing for that language.
Okay, and once again, what we're really waiting for is, you know, we really would like to find out if the MSBA is going to participate in reimbursement for the middle high school feasibility study. That's it, right?
Yeah,
From-
the
what
interaction
was-
between all the projects.
Oh, right,
How
right,
they're
yeah.
gonna actually knit this
How-
whole thing together.
Right,
And that,
right.
that may very well be why it's taken a little bit longer, because this is not something you take out of their manual, it's a little different arrangement.
Exactly.
Because they're looking to expand potential of obviously reimbursement to include
Parts of the middle high school,
It may
right.
very well, and, you know, they talked about it possibly including an SOI, you know, statement of interest for that school.
Right.
So again, we'll have to wait and see.
Right, and obviously for the, the voters in Georgetown, because this is gonna be on our fall town warrant, we'd like to get the information, obviously, sooner than later, so we appreciate you pushing on with that. Good.
I have a question for Pat. Do you think there's a possibility that the MSBA will take a look at the project and say, we're willing to give you half the money for the high school issue, for the feasibility for the high school? Do you think that they may hold the project until that feasibility study is done and hold this thing till springtime? Is that
Anything's possible. If I had to guess as to what might happen, which is always dangerous when you start to guess or speculate,
Right.
but my sense is I think they understand how important it's gonna be to get the Pembroke moving and get the design going. There may be some language that would indicate that they're gonna approve this project, you can get the design moving on it and so forth. And because there's talk about there being an SOI, statement of interest required, they may actually ask you to submit a statement of interest, which means you'd go out and start doing the design at some later point. But I think someplace along the line, they may very well have language to allow you to do the design and then make sure that you're committed to do the construction on the middle high school, before you actually start construction, which is gonna be, ways down the road. So again, like I said, those are just things that just, again, like I said, reading between the lines and getting this in. And I know that they definitely want the project to proceed. I think they understand the importance of obviously triggering the project into the design phase, because if you don't, then you're gonna be obviously, wasting a lot of inflation money down the road. So that would be my guess. I think they're very understanding about, what the practical problems are, and I think that they're gonna be understanding in the way they come up with that language. Time will tell. But again, there will be some language that will tie them together, but they also understand that if the design on the middle high school gets delayed a little bit while you do an SOI, it's not a problem, because the new school won't be ready for 3 years. So there's a little bit more time in there to get the SOI, get the design done. But I think someplace along the line, there'll be some language that'll marry these together.
But now, if they did something like that and said, go ahead, you can proceed with your design phase, what would that do to our bond issue? Would we still go out for the bond for the whole project?
Well, they're gonna want, again, usually their language is gonna say that we want you to go out and get a commitment that you're gonna get financing for the entire project. And again, there's gonna be 3 articles out there. So again, like I said, they'd wanna see obviously an approval on the 3 articles, the mitigation, the middle high school, and the Pembroke.
Okay.
So they're gonna wanna see those all approved as 3 separate articles, and then they'll kind of knit together how they want these all to work and what the timing would be.
So, but after this vote, and we make a commitment, then they'll allow us to go through the design to get the documentation. By that time, we should have the feasibility study done for the high school, and a price put onto that too. That would then roll in,
Yeah.
and we'll have that approved
Then you
too.
would go to town
Town
meeting
meeting,
in
get
the
that
spring or
approved.
the fall, depending on whether they're gonna ask you
Oh,
to do
really?
an
That-
SOI. If they ask you to do an SOI, it's gonna take a little bit more time, it's gonna go to the board. That would maybe shift everything to go to the fall meeting. But again, I just caution everybody that what I'm doing now is speculating
Right.
based
Right.
on the fact that I know they want this to move forward. And as I look at it and have them, I think they understand clearly the issues in obviously moving all these projects together, knowing where the flexibilities are, where they can take a little bit more time, and be reasonable on how they approach it. So I think they're analyzing all of that, and it'll be interesting to see exactly where they come back with.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so has everyone had a chance to look at our building
Yeah.
committee fact sheet? So basically, we've been working on this for a few weeks now. We did have a meeting last Tuesday. Not many people were present. Carl was there, Pat, Eric,
Carl,
Carl,
Carol,
Carol.
Kerry.
All the
You and
good
me,
sounds.
yeah.
It's on the,
Yeah,
it's on the
you know,
minutes.
yeah, that's true. So, we have received some comments via email that we've tried to incorporate everything to get to this point. So we're hoping that we're in pretty good shape now that, because the goal is we'd like to get this into the Georgetown record. Now, obviously, I'm gonna skip over question 3 for a minute, because I know Mike is gonna talk about the money. But obviously, yes?
I have a
Dave?
question. I have a comment. I mean,
Oh, we're not looking at the brochure just yet.
okay, sorry.
We're looking at the fact sheet.
They
What's the
they were
fact
done
Isn't are they the same
concurrently.
thing?
No.
They're not,
copy
we've
that.
taken out some information to
All right.
condense onto
So
this.
then I got the wrong thing then, okay.
No,
So,
we're gonna do both.
oh,
We are gonna get to that,
okay.
You grab me one, Jeff?
but right
No,
now,
there aren't
right
any
now,
of
what we
these.
wanna do, because this is
Yeah, those are only
basically-
brochures.
Maybe you can
This
look on
is
the carry
just
on.
over like,
All right, is that in an email, so I can just bring it up on my screen here? so-
Yes.
Yes.
Is that
yes,
this?
it was sent,
No.
Yeah.
It's not
This.
that?
No.
I think it was
where's
sent
that?
on the 24th.
The one that says draft,
We're gonna get one.
you had to have
Yeah.
printed it out.
You can share with me,
I'll
Jeff,
share.
or you can have a computer like David has.
But you can certainly follow along on the brochure, because we
Actually-
did them concurrently.
Okay.
So
think I
this
sent
is
it
just more
on the
concise
24th.
than this, but
Okay.
all the facts are there.
Right. Right, so basically what we would like to do is, submit this fact sheet, which is 14 questions and answers, to the Georgetown Record from the building committee. So I will jump ahead just to the last 2 questions. So, and it goes back to what Pat was just talking about, that we're still, waiting for information from the MSBA. So in order to address issues at the middle high school, we need to complete the feasibility study to get it to schematic design where we got the Pembroke project. And we are hoping that the MSBA will be reimbursing us at the same percentage that they did for the Pembroke project, but we don't have confirmation for that yet. And so, and then for the drainage issues, this goes to Mike and Dave. It will come from the $100,000. It's not gonna affect people's taxes if they vote yes on this, correct? It will come from,
Free cash, 100,000 from free cash and the rest from
but can we
FEMA.
actually say that now, or does it have to be voted on at town
Has to
meeting
be
first?
voted on.
So is there any language that we can add to that for the drainage issues so people will
It is
know that?
proposed,
Well,
maybe.
I have some brand-new information I just got this afternoon.
Okay,
We did not get approved for the FEMA grants, either one.
That's
Oh,
not
we
good
didn't?
news.
That was that letter with something else?
Yep.
So the
So
100,
Did they give a reason?
Not yet. I spoke with them today. It's just that they had more requests than they had money and we weren't chosen. The not so bad news is they just released more money. The bid deadline is the end of October for the grant, so we would definitely miss this town
This
meeting.
town meeting.
We'd have to, if we would know we had the grant before Springtown meeting, and then but we have to find out why we weren't
Right,
approved.
right.
And if possible, tweak the grant applications.
Right.
It may not have met whatever their qualifications are.
okay.
And I'm having a discussion about that tomorrow with the State Department that's in charge of that. With
Okay.
MEMA.
So we should just remove this completely from,
It's
It's
a
not
dead
gonna- okay.
issue for this town meeting.
okay. All right, and then, now moving on to number 14, the cost of the feasibility study, we have costing information from municipal and from DRA for $85,000 that will get us to the schematic design phase for the middle high school for what we need to do to satisfy the MSBA needs. So that total is $85,000, but we're hoping that we hear something from the MSBA to be able to put in here that the MSBA will participate at their close to 50% reimbursement share on this amount.
And again, they may or they may not. They may
Right,
indicate,
right.
we will make that decision once we see how much work's gonna be done,
Right.
because right now it's fairly thin, so.
No, I'm talking just for the feasibility
No, I
study
know,
though.
but they
Yeah.
also wanna make sure that Georgetown has a commitment to doing the work. So, you know, that,
Right.
they may not agree to it before the vote, but
we
may
don't
agree
know.
to it after.
After. I don't think they're gonna agree to it until the town supports it.
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
because they also wanna see the level of work that you're
Yep.
gonna do as well. I mean, we
Yes.
have that preliminary.
We have the preliminary
work that we
list.
did.
Right.
I think they might wanna see more than that, because usually they make the decisions once they get into more schematic type, design and work layout, so, again, time will tell, you know.
So maybe the question could be, what is the cost of the feasibility study for GMHS and what is included? So the total cost is 85,000, but what comes with, what do you get for $85,000? You get what is it that we get, Pat?
You're gonna get, well, you're gonna get
The
you're
full
gonna get
study.
scope and budget information, you're gonna
Scope.
get the design advanced to a point where you can fix the price, fix the scope, and that's it, that's what would go to town meeting, and it'd be at the same level of completion as
As
what
the
we did
Pembroke
done for the
project.
Pembroke.
Right, so if you just bullet those things, that, I think, would address a question that I think people
Well,
have.
give us enough information to go to MSBA for possible,
Sharing of costs.
sharing of costs.
Right.
And we would be working with them as the design proceeds, as we did
Right.
with Pembroke, going through the whole process to make they understood the necessity of doing that work, and trying to keep it within the confines of areas that they would reimburse.
So we could
Okay.
have a bullet that says, we'll work with MSBA for possible reimbursement, shared reimbursement, or,
Yeah,
I mean,
basically,
Yeah.
sure.
right?
Why not?
I mean,
Again, bear in mind, hopefully we get language, you know, this week, and it's gonna kinda amplify what they want us to do
Right.
and what they're gonna do.
right.
Expect.
But there's
Right.
like 4 bullets, right? So there's scope and budget. Pat, reel that off again. Scope and budget, information,
You're gonna advance,
schematic designs.
you're gonna advance
No.
the design to fix the
That's
scope of the
feasibility.
budget, all right, sufficient to, you know, sufficient to take it to MSBA.
Right,
Mhm.
that's the key.
Okay.
So that's really just one.
That's really, right, so the total
And then the other
cost-
one is, we'll work with MSBA for potential reimbursement.
Well, this
Well,
will allow you to.
that says it.
Yeah.
Okay,
That one
This
bullet.
study,
Necessary.
this
It's
study will
necessary.
allow us to,
they'll allow us to.
Well, if you go back up to number 13, that's what we said in 13. Some work has been identified, but we need to complete a feasibility study to determine the cost and work required for reimbursement consideration from the MSBA.
I was sort of suggesting.
I think you should
that you get
combine
rid-
'em.
If you get rid of, yeah, I think it's, if you get rid of 13, you can almost answer that in 12.
Yeah.
isn't that what you did on the brochure? Combine them.
No, I hadn't
know, we-
really done much yet on that
Last,
one.
like 2 weeks ago, we had these questions combined.
Well, all your,
Yeah, 13
the
kind of
only
fine.
value you're adding in 13, if you get rid of all that other stuff.
Well, it's because
is
we're losing
that
the
some
drainage
work
thing.
has been
Right.
identified, so.
Oh, I
if-
did, he's right. I just brought up the
No, you-
cost to number
Yeah.
13, yeah,
13, it was both.
Now we're back at 13 first.
yeah. Oh, yeah, we didn't want 13
Now we're back to
questions.
13 questions too.
Well, there might be some more
Well,
questions. I
14
have a
be-
few other
Any other questions? Contact the committee.
All right,
Isn't that
so-
funny? That's
all right,
why
so
we did
we'll
it.
Combine 13 and 14.
And we'll just name it number 14.
Yep, and I mean, obviously, if we get anything definitive from the MSBA, we can put it in, if not, you know, we'll leave it at that, go into for consideration to the MSBA.
Quick question on this.
Yes.
So this is gonna go in the neighborhood when?
I was hoping for a week from Thursday
Okay,
to submit
and
this
then-
week.
Then the town, the
Tuesday.
neighborhood meetings or informational meetings, why couldn't we put as one of the, as 14? We are going to hold public
How is the
forums
town
or,
gonna find out more
yeah,
information?
and put the dates.
Yeah, well, we can put down the community meeting.
The
We have
selectmen are
the-
gonna do a joint meeting with those meetings too.
You are?
Yes, we
On a
are.
Saturday?
Absolutely.
No, right
I
now-
will post it just in case we
Well-
all show up.
There's not a Saturday meeting scheduled. right
Whatever
now.
meetings you've got
Right,
scheduled.
so right now we
There should
have.
So we're gonna be
There should be a
hold
Saturday meeting scheduled.
town meeting, town,
no,
Informational
community
meeting.
meeting.
community
Right.
meetings.
Might as well get it on there.
Yeah, no, that's.
Come out, come out and,
But
So-
will the meetings be before the brochure goes out?
that's why, yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out.
Before, well, no, this
October 9th.
is going into the paper for next week.
Okay, so that.
This is
would
gonna be a
beginning
week
of
from
October.
tomorrow, a week from Thursday.
So October 4th or something in that.
Right,
Yeah.
right, so this will be the paper to
Yeah.
get the information out to
Yeah.
the public.
So are the sessions after October 4th?
Yes, the community
Okay.
meeting is October 15th, 7 o'clock at
Okay,
Pembroke.
there you go.
So the question number 14 could actually
Sounds
read,
October
what if
10th.
I have more questions?
Yeah, something like that.
Right? What if I have more
Dates in there.
questions?
I thought the community meeting was on the 10th.
We
I
got a
think the date got
conflict.
changed.
We got a conflict, so now it is.
It's definitely October 15th.
I meant to
We
mention.
had 2 meetings scheduled.
Monday, October 15th, 7 o'clock, the Pembroke Cafeteria.
David, that's the same night as the selectmen's meeting.
Right, and I figure we'll have the selectmen meeting early that night, and then move over to,
At 7 o'clock, is that what you said?
matter of fact, maybe we just.
Where
go
is
over
it, please?
there.
The Pembroke
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
It was not
And then when's the other one?
That's all we have scheduled right now.
So the other two are gone.
So the
Yeah,
15th and
I
when?
thought we were talking about 3 meetings, actually.
I did too,
Well, the more the
Two
better.
meetings and then one was like trying to be a Saturday meeting.
right.
Because there are people in town for whom a Saturday, not the guys who go to the football and soccer and all that, but there may be
Right.
other working people that can't do.
Right, and we were gonna kinda look to the selectmen, I guess, for that one. We're still trying to plan a morning meeting, so
Yeah.
potentially the week of the
There you go.
15th now.
Okay.
But, we had a couple conflicts, DRA had some conflicts, so, at least we got the Monday night one booked. We'll try to book one, like a 9 AM meeting sometime that week. And
So
then
the-
if the selectmen wanted to hold some type of a
If you're trying to get this in
town-
the paper, you have to make those decisions.
All right, so we're definitely doing October 15th, right?
Yes, that's
Yes.
booked.
And that's 7 o'clock?
Yes,
That's at,
Pembroke,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay. And that's the only one so far, that's a hard date?
That's the only one, yeah.
All right.
If I get other ones booked, I'll send out emails, and we're gonna put it to the calendar section of the Georgetown Record as well.
Excellent.
So
No,
put
I
it on
thought-
the PTA blank, trying to get it
Blank,
out
yeah.
there.
I thought Carl was getting us a Saturday, morning date.
We-
I don't think I
he-
did either.
It was, he had problems with the night one, he had double booked himself, so we
I
kinda
know, we
had to
had to
start
change
from
that, but
scratch.
I thought we had a morning one. Okay.
So you'll just verify that and
Right.
get.
Are we definitely gonna do a Saturday with the selectmen?
I don't know.
Would be good if we can do it. Let's pick a date.
Is this the
should do
selectmen
it.
organization of the departments on Saturday, David?
I'm sorry?
Is this the Saturday, is this the selectmen organizing the departments and whatnot in the town for?
I wasn't gonna organize departments. What I wanted to do was a joint meeting with this committee, so that the selectmen are there in a public setting, so that people can come and ask questions, and we're there as a board of selectmen there also. So, because I
Maybe
can't
the
force,
school committee would even like to attend.
I can't force other
Yeah.
boards and commissions to come in. I mean,
Right.
and I don't
Can
see
you
the
ask 'em?
sense. I mean, I could, but I mean, I don't
Well,
know
we
what.
can invite them too, if
Right.
you're asking us to do it and invite you.
Well, what I'm just thinking is that, this is a big issue for the
Oh,
town.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I think the inviting your participation coming from the selectmen, who are the leaders of the town,
Yeah,
would
no,
carry a
that's
little bit
fine.
more weight than the board.
Any way you wanna do it, whatever you want, but I think to invite the school committee also.
Yeah.
For that meeting
sure.
would be a,
Well, I mean,
Finance
honestly, if we do
committee
something
too,
like
I
that,
mean,
think you open it
anybody.
up to all the boards and towns
Right.
and
Well, that's-
something out
that-
to all the department heads, so.
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem doing that at all, but I want to, we need to coordinate with, our OPM and architects, and so we need to get everybody there. So I need a date.
We don't have a lot left.
May I suggest the Saturday before the town meeting?
27th?
Yeah,
may.
October.
27th. Yep.
Too close to town.
I'll be out of town.
Do you think we should do it maybe 1 week before?
That's not a bad date.
Would that be the 22nd?
It's not a bad date.
27th?
What's a week before? Michelle was throwing out the week before.
Either the 20th or the
20th.
27th. I mean,
Wait, back up. Town meeting?
is the 29th.
The 29th.
Oh,
So
excuse me.
that's 2 days before town meeting.
Right. Yeah, that's
I
too
think
early.
that-
The
I think
20th.
it's a little too close.
Yeah, I think the 20th would work.
So target the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you want to call this meeting?
We just have to make sure the architect can come.
Yeah.
And check if the middle high school is available.
Yeah, make
You
sure
want
that,
the middle high school?
I would do it probably at the middle high school cap where we did the
Informational
other
meeting.
one,
yeah, just an
Question
informational
and
meeting.
answer, you know.
like a town informational
Yeah,
meeting.
sure. So Mike, we just gotta get something out to everybody.
So we'll just-
Send an invitation to everybody, and everybody post it.
So we're gonna call
What
it
time is
town
that?
informational meeting?
Say 10 a.m.? 10 a.m. work for everybody? Was that,
Mm-hmm.
or earlier?
10 a.m. is good.
Give a chance for people to get things done and get.
And we'll confirm with
Yeah, so
Carl.
you'll do a
Okay.
building request form, right? So, just what, you know, Michelle, you know what forms I'm talking
Yep.
about.
Oh, I'm
Use
gonna
of
do it?
building.
Yeah,
I thought
you-
the selectmen were
No,
gonna
you-
handle this
Yeah.
one.
Okay, sorry, David.
So am I doing it? I mean,
Yeah.
that means
yes.
Janet's doing it, but
That's
it's
what I was
okay.
gonna say,
That
Janet,
would
Janet
be
does
great.
it, that'd be great.
Yep. Building
That
request.
But
means
we'll,
Janet's
we
doing
will
it.
check with
Love that.
Carl in the
Yeah, I mean,
morning,
we're not
just to
gonna
be
call a
sure.
meeting
Who's
if
bringing
you-
the
if you wanted
coffee and
to.
Let's
muffins?
just be clear.
Selectmen bringing the coffee and muffins?
Of course.
Oh,
We don't have a budget.
Yes,
So you think we do?
you have a larger budget than we do. Ours is 0. You might have $10, I don't know.
All right, so 10
What-
a.m.
What
on the
did we
20th.
have coffee and donuts when we did that one before
Yeah,
town
we did.
meeting or whatever?
Yeah.
There was something there from somebody.
well, the ones that were the,
High school.
At the
you know,
high
the
school.
vision
Yeah,
meetings
yeah,
with the
those,
consultant, I donated those,
Oh.
which I'm happy to help again with, but I got that stuff ahead of time. Cause food, you have to have food.
Yeah.
I know, you,
Yeah.
at
All
10
right, so-
o'clock in the
You
morning
gotta
on a
food.
Saturday, you have to
So
have
October
coffee and
20th.
I'm
donuts.
happy to pick up a few dozen donuts
So
and
we'll also
donate them.
post a joint meeting for, the other meeting is the 15th. We'll come over to the 15th then.
Okay.
Although, is it necessary? Well, we're gonna have the one on the Saturday. I don't think it's
I don't think it
necessary then.
is. I don't-
So we'll just come,
And actually, if we're doing that, I might
It's the
not
same
schedule
week.
another meeting in the morning. I mean, our last morning meeting
Right.
that we did a
Right.
community meeting, we had about 5 people there. At least at night, we get about 30.
yeah. So
So-
then, so the selectmen will
Saturday.
not be there on the 15th. We'll be there on the 20th.
Yeah.
How's that?
I think that's fine.
All right, so are we gonna, well, because I thought that it might be nice to invite Senator Tar to one of these, because he's been a big supporter of our schools, so,
The Saturday one probably be better for him.
Yeah.
anyway.
but now, I mean, do we still wanna hold the one on the 15th? I mean,
I think you
Yes,
should.
we do,
I think you
absolutely.
should.
Cause
We
you're
have
gonna
to have
talk
two.
about different people,
Yeah.
not everybody's available on
Right.
That's
Saturday.
right,
Right.
absolutely.
The more the more we get out there, the better, I think.
What kind of information you think Senator Tar can provide? Is he just
He'll
there for
be
listening?
there.
just to be there, I mean, he's,
To
you
hear
know,
the
he's sent
discussions with the
representatives
community.
throughout this whole thing. He goes, you know, and sends representatives to the MSBA. You know,
They attend those
just-
board meetings.
Yeah.
He might enjoy hearing the conversation
hear
with the
what's
community,
going
what's on
on and-
people's minds,
Mhm.
what questions are being raised.
You know, he was there
Sure would
when
be
they,
nice to see a lot of people there Saturday.
it would be.
I won't be there. I just wanted to put that out there.
Way to go, Ellen.
I have to bring Andrew to DC for his term away.
Excuses.
Tracy's going to Bangkok.
Train.
Train.
Plane, I said.
Bangkok.
Oh.
Crazy place.
All right.
Go on the train.
Okay, all right. All right, if anything else comes up with other meetings, just let us know, we'll get them in there, but right
So
now we've got the
14
community meeting,
So number
Monday, October
14
15th.
Right.
is going to read, what if I have more questions? How do I have more, or how do I, what, I don't know.
What are
do
you gonna
think?
say?
If I have
Attend
more
the
questions,
parent
attend the,
Information sessions on such and
Right.
such,
If
call,
I-
contact. the
So,
How do I
parent.
do you
get-
think,
how do
what
I-
if I have more questions?
How can I get more information?
How do I
How can I get more
how-
information?
how
I
do
like
get
that
more
better.
Information.
Because then we can also put the town website, because all of our documents are on the town website.
Yep.
Contact a member of the building committee.
didn't we used to have an email alias too?
We've
that
never
gone?
had an email. Ellie and I.
Not like an info at,
Attend the community meeting Saturday, the website.
is that what we're calling it, a community meeting on the 20th?
Town informational
Townwide.
meeting
Town informational meeting?
on Saturday. Community meeting will be Monday, October 15th.
Are you going to focus just on the building project, or
Well,
will
we'll
you
talk
be
about Elm
counting
Street
other
too.
things?
We'll get
Okay.
everything out there as much as we can. I mean, we'll talk about the
Okay.
warrant articles pretty much. As much as we possibly can, get as much information out as we can.
So you may
But
want
we need the experts in the room. We need, you know,
Right.
OPM, we need,
Yeah.
you know, architects to go over the, you know, again, once again, let's go over the school. Mike and I and our board will handle the numbers along with finance. And then from there, we'll talk about, also talk about Elm Street, where hopefully we can get Peter there. And, we'll go from there. I think it's, let people ask free form, let people come up and ask the questions.
Mhm.
We're not gonna have all the answers, I mean, you know, some of them
Are
are
you
pretty
going to have
subjective,
it,
but we'll do what we
taped?
can.
We can?
Are you gonna ask Charlie to come and tape it?
Sure. Absolutely.
So.
Listen, the more transparent we are with
I
all this,
completely agree.
we get it all out in the open, we're not here to hide anything, we'll just get it all out there.
Pat, does the 20th work for you?
Yeah, we'll make it work.
And the 15th, is that the other date? The 15th?
They can run that tape, can't they, on cable?
Yeah.
After?
Yeah, that's why I'm suggesting you
That's why,
think about
right.
that, because it's multiple
We'll contact Charlie on that.
multiple bites at the apple.
Have Janet, if you can have Janet coordinate all that, that would be great. Just do all that. Okay. So, skipping over number 3, because we'll get to the numbers in a minute. Are there any other questions, comments about the rest of the questions on this fact sheet?
I had a couple of just little things.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I did
But-
too,
But
but
a couple,
did I
a
send
couple
it to
of
you
like
again?
clarification things.
Yep.
So, question number 2, where it says, I'd say 1, 2, 3, fourth bullet down. A renovation addition would limit flexibility to improve the current traffic situation on Elm Street. There are more possibilities for traffic flow, queuing space, and parking with new construction. I just wanted to make sure that that was true.
Yep.
Because when we were talking about the new, the Reno ad, we were talking about setting it up in such a way that there was a long driveway and,
But it wasn't as long as
Wasn't as
this.
It wasn't as.
It's not nearly as.
Right.
okay. So it's limits the flexibility to improve the current traffic situation on Elm Street. It would have improved it. I'm just trying to make sure we don't overstate it. I think it's an important point,
I
but
have.
I just wanna make sure that we say it in a way that we're not making it sound like something.
Well, we could
But
take off the
renovation
first
addition would
sentence and
limit-
say, there are more possibilities to improve traffic flow.
Because it's a longer driveway?
Mhm.
Is that, and there's more parking?
It could just
Yep,
simply
we have
read
like
there are more
75
possibilities
more
for
parking
us.
So
spots
if we
there.
were to say that with the new maybe we just say what you
It's
just said.
really-
With new construction,
Yep.
there are additional opportunities for, more parking and a longer driveway to alleviate
How about something
current
like,
issues or something like that.
although a renovation and addition would somewhat
There you
improve
go.
current traffic flow, there are additional possibilities, there are additional
More possible.
improvements for traffic flow. with
Did the
new
renovation
construction.
scheme improve the traffic any?
Yeah, it did.
I thought it
a
was
little
just
bit.
the,
Well,
I thought it was a
it
field
did a
option.
little bit.
I thought it was a field option.
I think it was just.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what, it doesn't,
just
a
a
renovation
field
addition
option. It
doesn't
didn't offer
include
more
it.
parking?
Oh,
No.
It
actually,
doesn't let you circulate.
Right,
Yeah.
it didn't go
right,
around the
right.
building
This one
at
doesn't
all.
allow you to circulate,
Okay.
so it doesn't improve.
It doesn't improve it at
It's
all.
really the second one,
Yeah.
it's really the new one, gives you
Right.
more parking spaces and more flow, more stackability. And
Okay.
I was thinking you might actually try to get some numbers on that.
For
If
what?
it's like 200 more stackable, whatever the number is, it might,
Parking spaces, I think, is 75.
Right.
right, so then do we know how many more cars can stack up? Cause it's significant.
It was considerable.
Yeah, so I think it's impressive.
Carl has
longer
that.
More
road.
impressive when you say it's like 75 more or 100 more, and people are gonna go,
Wow,
wow,
actually,
that's really good. Because it is really good.
We never had how many more will stack, we just had
Oh,
how many
you
more
know
could
what?
park.
Which one are we on?
They could run
Wait,
a linear.
number
split.
two.
just talking
Hold
about
on.
fourth bullet
Slide.
down on number 2.
Divide
Average
by,
size of a car.
Bullet 4, Rob.
Right, now, just flip to number 8, because in number 8, bullet 1, 2, 3, 4, that we do have it there, that there's why we chose the
75 more
woods.
parking.
Right,
Right, but it
Long-
doesn't
longer
talk
queue, and
about
I
how
have
many,
number on that one too,
Right.
I say number, how many?
yeah.
right, so
It'd
you
be
want
good
the
to put it
number,
here, yeah, it'd be
on
good to
both.
put it here. No, I don't,
Same
no,
place?
maybe not, I think only on the second one would be
Yeah.
good,
okay.
yeah,
Number 2 or
So if
number
we have, because,
8.
right,
8, yeah. So get rid of that. Is that what you're saying in here?
No, what?
On number 2? Are you saying take that out now and leave it on number 8 or? put it
No,
both
he's saying
places?
don't put in the number of
Say
how many
leave it
stack.
as it is,
Oh, okay.
just sort of a statement, and then in the back on number 8, actually give the numbers like you did, 75 more parking, and then the queuing, how many more spaces for that.
Okay.
Okay.
How many do we think we can fit
Yeah.
on the drive?
okay.
Okay. So number 3, I just think in that second bullet you need an apostrophe S, the MSBA's maximum share.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Either that or
then,
put
then you're
the-
gonna change the numbers, right?
Actually, unless we take out B and just start with estimated cost
It's
and
still-
MSBA.
The MSBA maximum
Can we
share
go-
is estimated at, you could do
Can I
that
ask one
too.
question
'Cause they're
here
not sentences.
procedurally though?
Yes.
Since we're going through some of these, can we just go through them, so if
Yes.
anybody else has anything in number
Yes.
2, let's get it out
Oh,
now.
okay, good idea.
Or number
Or
one.
number 1, so let's start at number 1, and does anybody have any comments on number 1, and then we'll go to number 2.
And actually, even then, before you go to number one, did you all read the intro? And are you all
Yes,
okay with
yes,
that?
I have comments on the intro.
Okay, why don't we start at the beginning?
Let's start with the.
I don't have
Always a
any-
good
Alright.
place to start.
I don't like the title. No, I'm only kidding.
No. My suggestion is we don't have any timeline. You know, like, we should have, like, the school building committee reconvened in 2010 or 2009 to give this some type of historic perspective. I mean, as a result of a 2002 study done by the prior building committee that pointed out overcrowding and facility deficiencies in the Pembroke School, to give this, because there might be some misconceptions out there that this just started, you know.
Okay, so as a result of these, as a result of these,
Previous studies?
2 years of studies or whatever, something like that, put it.
Well,
put it
you
there.
were on the
I mean,
prior building committee,
Right,
right?
but he's going back to 2002 when we did the first
Oh.
feasibility
I mean,
study.
to me, we're looking at overcrowding issues based on, you know, certain demographics, that we've gone from a town that was 6,300 people in 1990 census to 7,400 people in 2000,
So maybe that should go on number
to
one.
8,500 people in
It-
2010, and people can see what, yeah, we have overcrowding issues because this is how much we've grown.
Maybe that should go on number 1 then, because it says, what process
What's
did
the
the school
process?
committee, school building committee follow to reach the decision? Maybe the first one is, you know, that
The
this
history.
is started back in '02, and, you know, with a study and blah, blah,
That's a
blah.
good- I think
I
that's
think
a
it's a
You know
point.
what, the first study may even have started before that.
So, yeah, we just find it
The
and then
90s.
put it in there.
I think
Like,
it
give
Or
some-
what do you
came
study?
about.
Because this, I think
Yeah.
it's a good point. This isn't an issue
We've
that
been,
just came
it's been
up.
going on
This
for
has been
12
going on
years
for,
now.
Yeah, 10, 12 years now.
A lot of work.
And it's, and it's.
And it
so
needs-
So it's even
right.
more critical, it's gotten to even more critical stage because we
Yeah.
are growing even more.
Right.
It was
How are we
studied
gonna
12
rate
One of the
it?
fastest growing
And this-
communities in
and we're
Essex
near this
County.
big. Yeah.
How are we
so-
gonna
Remember
fit all this?
MSBA said it was critical.
Look at us, we're like, how are we gonna squeeze all this in?
No, I just think just
You're
putting
right.
a
the
timeline,
font
just
can always go down.
But
reconvene.
I do agree that I think
I
that
mean- It
is
that-
important,
that goes
yeah.
This
in.
just starts at like
Trust you.
we're
Yeah.
right at
Go
the
number
end, you
one.
know, we don't have any
Yeah.
historic
Yeah, I think
perspective,
you
that
should
should be
agree.
right. I mean, I don't have any problem with the,
If you put it in 1 and you say that you reviewed the study that was done in
Yeah,
2002
one is okay,
and
right?
current
Put it in
enrollment.
I don't have any
and determined
problems
there
with
was
any
a
of the
need for
questions
further
and
study.
answers. I just think
That,
a
that's,
good
that
intro
is
has
something
to
you
start.
did as a
Right.
process, and then the
You're
district
right,
submitted
Yeah,
an
this-
SOI.
I mean, our first meeting
When did we
was-
submit?
2009?
2009?
No, the
2000.
SOI was in 2007.
What day was that? That was, what, 2 years ago at least.
So and you did review the study that was done in
Yeah,
2000.
would it be appropriate to say review the feasibility study of, say,
2002.
2000 through 2006?
Well, it's whatever,
Well,
when was
then
that feasibility
We were on a
study done?
hiatus during that time.
2002, I think Dore and
2002
Whittier
was-
completed their study.
They
so then you
completed
say-
it, but they started it.
Yeah, you say that,
So could we somehow say we reviewed,
review the 2002 feasibility study for,
but it was completed later than that? I mean, it was started earlier. I'm trying
You
to
know what I'm
say,
wondering?
how
I
do we?
think 10 years is pretty good.
But you know what I'm curious about, Ellie, thinking about that, because it was obviously long before my time. There was a extensive project done to Pearlie and the middle high school in '96.
Mhm.
Was that done, I'm assuming, often in some kind of an initial study, must have determined that there was a need for additional space at the middle school, and how
I
did
think it
that
was
happen?
just the increased
We're
in
overgrowing our
town.
schools, but probably the 1997 repairs on the middle high school and Pearlie was done probably from a prior study like in
That's what I'm wondering
1990.
about.
But
So
it-
by the time they got to 2002, they said,
It
whoa,
was too
we're still
small.
growing.
We had a huge population growth,
Yeah.
so they realized that wasn't nearly adequate enough. And it was projected to continue to rise, so that's
So
what.
George, if that information that you're talking about got added in 1, are you okay with the top part staying as it is? if, like, in other words.
If we had a
part of the-
bullet?
Part of
We
the
do bullets with
process of the school building is they reviewed enrollment, you reviewed enrollment trends, you know, and the fact that the town's grown significantly over a
Well,
10-year.
I just think we could just add, the school building committee reconvened, whenever we reconvened, was in 2009, 2010.
Yeah,
And then
2010.
2010 is when.
to oversee, I mean, I just think we need to put some type of timeline in the first paragraph, that we just didn't blossom out of the, last year, because
Okay.
people,
Right.
you know, that we've been at this for a while.
To oversee the
So-
completion, that's all we need to say.
Yeah.
We reconvened, the school building committee reconvened in 2010 to oversee the completion of, and we'll just pick up where it says completion of. Is that what you're,
Yeah.
okay.
But then do we still add
I don't know
another bullet?
I don't know the
think we still
exact
And we
date.
still
And
add,
we still add a bullet.
and I think we
under
still
number
add the
one
bullet. I
that
think that's
says
still important.
That we reviewed the information from the 2002 feasibility study. And
And looked at, you know, current enrollment trends and.
Yeah, accruing enrollment trends.
But I think, I don't know if it was just Rob or George that just said it, but like, back then, we knew we had an overcrowding issue.
And I think that's
And
important.
I think
to
that's
write that down.
important to say in this
Be-
bullet,
right.
because we
Yeah.
knew back then, and here we are 10 years later, or 15 years later, depending on what dates you look at, you know.
1,500 more people,
Yeah,
more than that.
all right, so.
Yeah, so it's been an issue for a while, but it's now a,
Critical,
So,
catastrophic.
I have another suggestion for number one.
hold on.
Kev's.
I'll wait till Michelle's done writing. 'cause-
I really should have brought my computer. I
Alright,
said it last
so-
time.
Conducted an extensive feasibility study. I'd like to expand upon that just a little bit. And talk about
Where is it?
what method did we use? In other words, we conducted an extensive feasibility study as communities, local, surrounding communities or as recommended by the,
NSBA?
the MSBA, because I think that's important to say, because, there's been some critical commentary out there about the process. Well, this is the process that all the other communities have gone through, that we didn't make up this process. We hired an OPM, we followed the process, the guidelines that the MSBA puts forth, so that in order for us to partner with them, I think it's important to say something like, even if it's 2 or 3 words, it
Would it
says,
be according to MS,
according
BA
to our,
guidelines?
But
I don't know how to say it, but.
It wasn't just MSBA, because part of it is the architects, also
Right.
the way they went about the feasibility
I
study.
think you could have done
Right.
fewer options.
That's
and
probably
it's
correct.
satisfactory to
It's MSBA,
Right.
the
I think
architect pushed
This
it.
group
Right.
actually used good judgment, prudent judgment, and did more.
Yeah.
It's
By
the-
looking at
Because we
additions
looked at-
and locations,
Maybe
those
just write that.
locations had.
Maybe
Maybe
what you
just say
just said,
exceeding the,
exceeding
Yeah.
the MSBA requirements.
yeah, MSBA
Although I was more like following
typical requirements.
the MSBA,
they're saying
or
exceeding.
Yeah.
following,
Exceeding-
I don't know how to,
I mean, we
frame-
looked at extra
Say
grade
it.
configurations based on our town needs and the way
Yeah,
that
but
our
you're,
town was.
you're putting,
sending.
yeah, but that's that's more the specific that I was talking about. I wanna talk about the process. In other words, we just didn't say, okay, let's get together and
Yeah,
go.
these
through
are
this.
two different things. Yeah,
Right,
I
it's
agree.
two different things. We followed the
It's also a
recommended
two-year process.
process that was required in order to get the MSBA to partner with us. And yes, we looked at multiple options, but that's part of the process. I want people to understand that we just didn't come in here and make all this stuff up. We had to follow through. First thing we had to do was we had to hire an OPM. We had to, go through all of the process, so.
Okay,
So
so
what-
follow
what
the recommended
initiated-
process set by MSBA.
What
And
initiated
used
the
by
whole
other
thing?
communities, for,
Follow the process.
I don't know how to
What
say it, but-
initiated the whole thing? Why did the,
It's not even recommended, it's the
It's-
required. Follow
just
the
look at that,
required
just the
process.
We wrote a
It's
statement
the
of
oh, we
process.
did, okay.
Right.
Okay.
If we can get that, something in there that
Okay.
it's a little more specific than we conducted an extensive feasibility study based on how everybody,
When was the SOI submitted, statement of interest?
2007.
2007. That's kind of what really started this process. The statement of interest in 2007 said to
There you
MSBA,
go.
we're interested. We'd like to, we're in dire straits. We need this particular project. MSBA had to determine, A, that you did have, the necessity for the project. Because before they granted you the invitation to apply for that conceptual design, they had to accept you into the process. They had to be convinced that this was a project that was urgent.
So 2007 statement of interest was submitted to MSBA, who approved, or who approved.
Yeah,
The
they
project.
actually invited you. Once they get it, they sort through the
They
number
accepted
of-
us into the
Yeah.
program.
They accepted you
Accepted us,
and
yeah.
asked you to submit, they invited you to
And determine that your
participate.
need was urgent.
So we followed the program.
Oh,
That's what
yeah,
I
that
want
would- you
people
know
to
what?
understand.
So MSBA invited Georgetown.
Well, you submitted your SOI,
Well,
statement of interest.
2007
Into-
SOI was
Yeah.
submitted.
And they sorted through probably over 100 projects, and they selected those that they considered to be most in need. And at
Yeah.
that point, invited you to participate. First step was hire an OPM.
So how about this? It's the 2007 SOI was submitted to MSBA, who then determined Georgetown was one of the more needy communities to be accepted to the program.
You know, if we go
They
back to
considered
what we
us
said
urgent,
when we did the
Urgent.
feasibility study, you know, we said that we were putting their pipeline, but then after review of our materials and a site visit to Pembroke, the MSBA does not believe that our project could wait. They consider our project urgent and needy.
So
That's exactly what we put in.
urgent and needy.
So we could just take what we wrote in that one and put it back in here.
Yeah.
But I'm still
Can I have one
stuck
of the
on,
green ones?
we followed.
That'll be another bullet.
process.
Yeah.
Yes. Could it, are you happy with, we followed the process set by MSBA?
Right.
Does it help to say that this process, how long has this process been?
Right, and that's
It'll
what I'm
be a
trying to-
two-year
And it's not-
process.
We're not the only community in the Massachusetts that's followed this process, and I think
So,
that's
and then-
important to let people know that.
And then you say, well, even in that same bullet, you say, then the MSBA process was followed, or
Was what?
was followed. That's not a good
Can
word.
you read it again, Ellie,
Got that stuff?
please?
The 2007 SOI was submitted to MSBA, who then determined Georgetown's one of the more needy communities, although we like this
We
one
like
just a
that.
little
We like what
better.
you had there.
That's fine.
Yeah. And then the other one could be followed the process
As set
set
by,
by MSBA.
and,
But I think we need to define what we mean by process. I think people are gonna say, well, what process? I think really what we wanna say is that we follow the process for completing a feasibility study as set by,
You could say the requirements, you followed their
Yeah, requirements.
requirements.
exactly.
follow the
MSBA
requirements.
requirements.
All right,
I mean, there's no flexibility, their requirements.
Right.
You want their
That's the
reimbursement.
point.
you-
Right.
Well, that's
you
the
follow
point,
their
and-
requirements.
That- that's it.
And I've got some again, critical feedback that, well, you just did, no, we didn't. We were, we
Did we get
tasked
that last
Follow their
fall?
requirements.
Did we get
Followed
that last
the
fall?
project
approval
task
last fall
list.
or 2010? 2 falls ago.
2010.
So maybe you wanna
you
say.
get something in there on that, I'd
that
appreciate
the
it.
follow the
yeah.
feasibility.
We're gonna fix
It's
these and
important.
send them out
That
again, so
last is
review
good,
it. If
you know.
you want to change the
Yep.
wording, or if you want us to work on it, send it back quickly, so that we can,
I'll get it to me, I'll.
yeah, we'll get these cleaned up.
Tied up.
I don't know if it helps to
Well-
make David's point a little bit more if you say that you the requirements of this feasibility study, which was conducted over a 2-year period. I mean, to me, the length of the study shows that it wasn't a fly-by-night,
Yeah.
let's put it all together
Right,
quickly.
because if you remember,
It took
you know,
2 years to get it to
Yeah,
this
we told
point.
people 12 to 18 months for this, and we took 24 to get to this point. Part because the MSBA made us take a extra look at the middle high school, but, I mean, we were definitely on the
Arduous.
long end of doing
And
that.
What number are we on?
And then is there still
Yeah.
another bullet that now talks about the 20 options? Is that still?
It's
on
still
the
there.
Table?
These are just in addition.
Okay.
Anything
Um,
on 1? Anybody have stuff on 1 anymore? I'm moving this along, sorry.
Yeah, this
I
is
told
what
you
we did last
9:30.
week.
This is what we
Actually
did
goes
last
smoothly
week.
'cause
Anything else on 1? Okay, how about 2? I have 1 and 2.
Because this is gonna be.
We crossed out 1, 2, 3, the fourth bullet, the first sentence, a renovation addition would limit flexibility to improve the
Yep.
current traffic situation on Elm Street.
So you're now
So
saying
we
there are more
deleted that.
possibilities
We said-
for traffic.
We are saying there are more possibilities for traffic flow, queuing space, and parking with new construction, okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
just
on the
leaving.
first bullet, I'm looking at the brochure, so it might not be the same thing, but it says, once the cost of the renovation/addition approached 70% of the new building, the renovation option was not prudent. To who? So it's not just to us, it was also to MSBA.
Well, here you go.
Yeah, it says, I
You know what?
eliminate
That's
that.
what she's got on the fact sheet.
I can,
Let's go
I'll
by
put
the
it back
fact
on
sheet.
though.
Let's
Yeah,
go
I
by the
think you should
fact
put it
sheet
back.
first.
Put it back in.
Yeah.
No, we kind of have to
We
do
do.
them concurrently because of
Yeah.
things
Yeah,
like
really.
that.
Are we on, are we down to the word level here? Because there are more possibilities. I would put there are additional.
Where are you?
Where are you?
We're still on 2.
I know, but can you tell me
He's
what
on
the
the
rest-
fourth
Addition
bullet.
addition with
He's
limited
on the fourth
flexibility to
bullet.
improve the
Okay.
current.
There are
There are
addition-
additional possibilities for traffic flow, queuing space, and parking with new construction.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on
On this
2?
one, definitely, right?
Yeah.
Going once, going twice.
Okay, two's
Two
done?
is
Three.
done.
3, we're gonna hold off because.
3, let's just wait till we get to the end, because Mike's
Yep.
gotta go over the numbers with us.
We'll go over
Sorry,
Number
Mike.
4.
I had something.
On 3 or 4?
4.
4.
The third bullet.
Yep.
Even if repairs are done on an as-needed basis, we will still be supporting a substandard school.
From a
You told us
facility
to say
standpoint.
that.
No, I didn't say substandard school. I would not have said
Building.
that.
No, it should say building.
You're
Oh,
talking
building.
about.
No, you know
Sorry,
what?
we're
This
talking-
one
we're
says
talking
building.
facility.
That's not what it says here.
No,
So-
this one was supposed to get changed to building.
Okay,
So,
I don't
It's
know
a
if it's,
building.
it would still
It's a
support a physical school that
it's
does
talking about
not
the
meet
facility.
current educational standards. What is it about the substandard? Cause those
It's a
judgments,
building, substandard building.
okay, even if repairs were done on an as-needed basis, we will still be supporting a sub,
all right, I'm
Say
gonna
that
take you,
again?
I'm gonna take you back, because this is where I believe that we had, where the MSBA came out and stated to us exactly that we would be putting good money after bad by putting money into Pembroke.
And you said we
And
shouldn't say
didn't-
that.
We didn't wanna say that, so that's where the whole like,
Yeah.
we can't fix Pembroke to the point where it'll be great. From a facility standpoint, from a
Yes.
building standpoint.
Yes.
So we know that, and that's what we're trying to convey here.
yes. So, I think if you said we will still be, supporting a physical something that does not meet current educational standards. That's what's wrong with
A
it. It
physical
doesn't,
building.
maybe,
I mean, we're
a
talking
building,
about the
maybe we'll
facility,
still
we're
be
talking
supporting
about
a
the
building.
facility. There's
A
only so much
facility.
they can do to that
Both
school.
those are fine.
Building or facility
Both
works
those are
fine.
Building and layout even.
Well, she gets to the
get
layout,
layout.
somewhere layout is in here.
Layout
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, that was excellent, they figured
Alright,
that
hold
out.
on, alright, so,
So let's
even,
see,
I mean,
so-
we'll still be,
We will still be
supporting
supporting a building or a
a-
facility, we don't care.
So you don't wanna use the
Actually-
substandard building?
Well, it's substandard, why?
Building. You said building,
What,
right?
but why is it?
I said
substa-
building.
When you say substandard, somebody would say, well, why? What's substandard about it? That it's not able, that doesn't meet the current educational standards? What is it, what makes it substandard?
Well, I think number 5.
The layout?
I think that 5 gets into that,
Yeah.
Right.
See, number 5 goes in.
We listed them all
Yeah,
No, I
there.
understand, but
it's.
If 5
classroom
lists them
tools.
out, you could just
So
say
just
then
say
C number 5.
cited in number 5,
C
C
number
number 5. Okay, substandard building.
Supporting a
says it
substandard.
Well, either that or you say that it's a substandard building structure and physical layout.
Building. Structure and. Yeah,
The other thing on
Okay.
here, when you talk about downgrading
yeah, I have that one too.
to probation, I would probably put in quotes and capitalize probation, because it's a thing, right? It's
Well,
a-
I think, and I was gonna say, I think you need to give teeth to what becoming
What it
public
means.
knowledge means. And what it means is negative impact on the town's image, and I believe it means
Money.
negative impact to kids who are graduating in high school who are applying to college.
And is it also? funded?
Would that be a fair would that be a factual statement?
Absolutely.
Is it funding also?
It
Ellie feels strong.
It's true.
Because-
That is absolutely
Well-
true.
I mean, who wants
To the
If-
town and graduating,
Well,
and
if
graduates.
that is true, I think that bullet deserves to come almost up to the top, because if the whole reason we're doing this is for the
Yeah.
kids.
Make it number
Yeah.
1.
I think
It's
to be
huge.
Yeah.
completely truthful though, if we say GMHAS may face downgrading. We can't say that
That
for a
is
fact.
correct.
Right.
That is
I'm
correct.
Right.
confused, I'm concerned
How
about.
faces
That is
the
correct.
possibility. I mean, it's, I
May,
think,
may face,
Yeah,
is
Maybe
fine,
it's downgrading, yeah.
or could face, fine. This makes it sound like it will.
That's true. You're right.
Yeah,
That's
no, you can
correct.
add the word may.
That's absolutely correct, because it may not happen.
It may
Do
not.
do we spell out
But if it
the
does happen,
acronym,
it's bad.
the ask anywhere?
Yes, right in the very beginning,
where?
the intro.
Oh, yeah.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did, right here.
NEASC.
Oh, NIAS, you say?
No,
We did not.
We did not.
Association of
I think
Schools.
people
I
might
thought we
be
did.
asking
Wait a
about
minute.
that.
No, we
did.
do have
We
to
did
add it.
2010.
Yeah, we'll, look it up. You know,
And hopefully
spell
the
it
voters
out,
all
I'll
remember
spell it
that.
out. Thanks, George.
I'm just saying, some people might not be
Yeah, no,
familiar with
they
that.
are. You're
information.
absolutely
We do
right.
need to, what
Yeah.
what is it?
Just,
What is it?
New England
The only-
Association of Schools.
Just the only other thought
Association.
was, if the last bullet,
I could
which
look
is
at my
about the
2010
probation issue,
materials.
comes up to number one, because it being the most important for the kids, then the second most important, I would think, would be the dollars. That what you have for Georgetown will be 100% responsible for the cost. I would almost make that two, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
one,
I will.
it's the probation, and two, it's the cost.
Yep, okay,
That's it.
Yeah.
yep.
And
Anything
we'll
else
do-
on 4?
And just a couple quick items. What are the consequences if Pembroke project doesn't pass? One of them will be, is that the whole project would obviously have to be reinitiated. You'd have to start all over again from the very beginning. Seems to me that might be a,
Can you, and roughly a time period for that to get back in a pipeline would be what?
no idea.
Years.
Because again, once
Depends on how many other places want
It's
money.
years.
you fail, whenever you submit a new SOI, you'd start right all over again.
Right?
Right.
Whenever you submit an SOI, they go through all these projects. One of the things that is in the back of their mind, Georgetown already shot this down. So if you were to do it in a few years, they might think the temperament changed. If you did it for the next round, they could look at it and say, well, the project just failed last year, maybe we hold it off and pick another community. So you really never know how they're gonna approach it, but you would be starting all over again. And all over again means all over again. You
Statement
start
of
the process
interest.
of looking for an OPM, you hire an architect, you have to go to town meeting and get your feasibility money. It's a lengthy process, by any arrangement.
Starting
So
all
it
over
So would
starts
it be,
all
Some-
over again.
so would
somebody
it
asked-
be,
you're looking
would it
at
be
it
fair to
as-
say that that would put us back to
Square one.
square one where we submitted the SOI back in '07?
And,
Yes.
we need to,
Money.
we need to pay back
I was
the
like,
bond.
that's what somebody
over
asked
3
me the
years.
other day,
It's
well, what happens to the
$375,000 that we have to pay
375 if
for
a
it.
project doesn't happen?
And it's a
Would
3-year
We still have to
payback, right,
pay
Mike?
that, right? And I said, yeah, we
It's a
still.
3-year payback. So we would be paying about 125, close to 125,000 for 3 years, to pay back the money that we used to do
For the
this study.
feasibility study.
So we'd be leaving, we
And
would
then
be
3
paying
years
for
from
that.
now, they probably wouldn't allow you to use the same study, that's the sad part of
Right.
it. Remember, we thought we were gonna be able to
Depending-
use the two
depending on
thousand
the
three
exact
study, we
number.
couldn't.
I saw it last night,
Yeah.
Sure.
You gave us last night.
123,
I
125.
was raising his hand out, trying to.
Yeah, it's like was it even 375? Well, it's half of whatever
Yeah,
the,
the 720,
We
we
were
have the
720.
720, be 360.
Well, I think that the
360.
facts there, I just don't tone it so that
No.
it doesn't sound like, God, you gotta do this or we're gonna be losing all this money. Just state the facts.
yeah, that's all, listen,
Absolutely.
we're not a special interest group
No.
here, we're just
So I'm gonna
facts.
read it out loud, see what people think.
Because it is a legitimate question, you know?
If you go to the MSBA website, it tells you exactly how the process goes. You get 10 days to tell them why, and then there's another 120-day period for something. If you look at, on their site, it'll tell you what it is.
Yeah, the 120-day period is the period that's gonna take you to get your money. They give you, after you vote, they actually allow you 120 days to finalize the bonding and the whole shoot match. When you go back to them in 10 days and tell them why, you'll go back and tell them that, what the circumstances were and the project
You
going
have to
down.
explain why it failed.
Exactly, and then
Right.
you have 120 days to
To
get
vote
your money,
again.
but if you fail at town meeting, you aren't gonna be able to get your money in 120 days.
Unless you set up
Unless you
another
have a
town
special
meeting.
time.
Unless you have another.
Unless you have another, right.
Special town meeting.
And I
Then
don't
you
know
have
what
to
the
have something else to
circumstances
vote
of what your levels of probability would be and try and get it within another 120 days.
Especially through Christmas.
Right. Well,
I
and
can
the
tell
town
you,
would have to
I've
pay
been
for it.
trying to get that answer from them, and they're not very responsive.
You know why? I think we sort of asked them that question, and I think they take it on an as-needed to answer basis. They don't do the what if, they wait until it happens and then they answer
Well,
it.
what's gonna happen is, that is stated in the minutes of the meeting, one of the minutes of the meeting, they're gonna basically, when they write the PFA language, they're gonna tell you what this next steps are if you get a positive vote. And they're also gonna outline what the consequences are if you don't get a positive vote. So basically, when you get that information, that's what it's gonna say. From a standard the reason it's tough to get those decisions, because from a standard operational procedure, basically, once the project fails, then theoretically, they're assuming that the project is not gonna go forward, there's gonna be no other attempt to do anything with it, and then they ask you to reapply and send in a new SOI. But again, they will actually, in this project funding agreement language, which is why we've been chasing it, they are gonna elaborate the next steps. Once you get your vote done, they'll talk about the 120-day and so forth. Then they'll also talk about the consequences and probably talk about that 10-day notice, let them know what's happening, and then they'll come back and respond officially. What we're doing is talking really what the normal book protocol is, but they may have some other wrinkles in it that they would explain. Which is why we're so anxious to see what they're gonna say in that PFA language.
What's in this letter, rather than coming to, MSBA representative coming to town meeting, what's in this letter from MSBA?
The project funding agreement language?
No. Discussion about asking MSBA representative to come to town meeting, but instead they said they will submit a letter.
That's what the letter's gonna do. In other words, what they're gonna do basically is, they're gonna
Outline.
send a letter through after the vote. They'll send a letter through with this information, with the information as to what happens, what the next steps are.
There's
and so
no
forth.
letter prior to the vote?
Not the
They're-
town
The
vote.
vote.
He's referring
Next
to
week's
the
vote.
town,
And the
the
board
board
vote.
meeting next
Oh,
week.
okay.
The board vote. Because we had asked them if they would be in a position to send someone down to the town meeting. And they referred me over to the communications director now, who called me and we had a discussion about it, who indicated that they no longer are gonna be sending people to town meetings when requested, but they will send a letter out after the board meeting that would outline the next steps if you have a positive vote and what the consequences are if we don't have a positive vote.
They did say that, there's always a lot of conversation in communities about this, because these are big ticket items, you're talking millions of dollars. But they said it's very rare that a building project does not pass. So I'd be curious as to, if there is a community where that was the case, did they, how did that work?
There's been communities that they've simply failed
Right.
and the project died and they're in that position that I just mentioned.
Yes.
But later on, they'll come back and do an SOI. There have been cases where communities come back and asked to give it another shot. And again, because they are interested in obviously
The same
having
project,
these-
Pat, or
yeah,
a revised
yeah,
project?
Yeah, and having these projects be revised and so forth and whatnot. But again, you'd have to explain to them what the different circumstances are.
Right.
We'd like to come back in and before you shut the door on us, in that letter that you would send in the next 10 days after you get if you had a failed vote, then you would explain to them what the situation is. You'd either say that we failed and whenever we feel we're in a financial position to reapply, we'll reapply someday. Or if you felt strongly that there were circumstances that you could get your arms around, you could go back and say, look, we'd like another shot and explain the reason. It would have to be relatively convincing because you just ended up with a failed vote. You'd have to give them some inclination that there is going to be a higher level of potential to obviously get
So
another.
it's obviously gonna be harder.
So how would you know what the
Yeah,
problems were?
Well, once you get through this vote, MSBA is no longer an issue. Once you go through the board vote and it's approved, all they want you to do is, you got 120 days to get the money. The rest of that we're all done with MSBA votes or anything else. From there, it's just a matter of we interact with them for the next 8 months, 9 months. We go through a normal procedure of submittals, it's 60%, 90%.
No,
Go
but
through
what
that
I'm saying
whole
is that
process.
it's, that the town vote, if we don't get it, then it's gonna be extremely hard to go back through MSBA to get a second vote and from us.
Yeah, much more difficult to convince them that you have a high level of probability you're gonna get a successful vote.
Right.
Within 120 days?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the school.
And would it be a different
fumbles.
project? I guess that's the question.
It would continue to put
When
money
people go
into
back
it.
after that money and within 120 days, is it a different project,
Well, there's a
Pat?
lot of factors
Is-
involved. If the job failed because people didn't wanna spend X number of dollars, then you'd have to go back and try and attack it in some fashion to get it down. But then you're attacking that to get it down, but you've gotta remove a lot more than you wanna get it down, because you're gonna be moving into an inflation situation. So not only are you trying to cut the dollars down, you've gotta cut more than you need to cut out of it. We always look at it and say, if you're gonna do that within the next year, figure you're gonna have to cut $2 for every dollar you're gonna obviously net out, which is really an exaggeration, but that's the goal. So it's a difficult, and then again, there's nothing overly elaborate about this building. This is, we went through this whole value engineering situation,
Yeah.
so it's not that you've got
If we
new
put in
high
a,
school that's designed,
Yeah, it's not
and
the
you're saying,
Taj
let's
Mahal,
take out,
right.
a few $1 million. It's
I mean,
it's
if
not
we
gonna
put in a
work.
planetarium, you could have a separate number that you just take that out, but we don't have that kind of thing. No, seriously, we don't.
We don't have.
And the thing, if we run into that situation and say we're 2-3 years away, we still need to decide what money we're gonna put into Pembroke, because we know that things need to be fixed in there.
I think that's the other point that we might want to say, and I don't even know where, but just food for thought is, this is, we started way back in '02 with this whole study, or with a study, and there was overcrowding then, and so we're talking 10 years, but it's really going to be, 13, 14 years until this thing is actually built. 'Cause we're not building it like when we do the vote, so we're still going to be waiting, so there's even more possibilities of increase and of students and whatever.
And
so-
failure at the current building.
Right, if stuff goes wrong
Right.
at Pembroke while the kids are in there,
We
then,
have to fix it.
like the boiler, what was that, 2 years ago, the boiler, last year, 2 years ago? And we still have the other original
Yeah, the
boiler
original
that's
one's still
putting
there.
along and,
43
Okay.
years
you
old.
know,
So are we set on 4?
Well, I added this as another bullet. Start all over again with a statement of interest. Require funding for new study would be, and the town would be responsible for paying back the full amount of the 300 and, is it 85, 75?
360,000.
65?
Yeah, they would still maintain the reimbursement on their share.
They would.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
we still have to pay.
720,000 you've spent, so they would, and then they pay just say roughly half, so they're not gonna ask you for that back, they understand.
So we would
Yes.
have to pay back the 365
Well, we'd have to pay.
that we
Yeah,
bonded.
your share, you would not.
We just
be
pay our
reimbursed.
share.
Right.
Our share,
We just-
okay.
That's
360,
360,
whatever.
was it 360? I wanna verify that, we should verify that.
It is.
360 even?
No,
Half of 720.
pretty close.
it was like 49.31%.
So we should probably get
Where
that
did I
number.
see that? I just saw that, so.
It was, you're right, it was 49.
But
Or
with
I
that
think it's in that-
360
it's
that we're
brochure,
paying,
Yeah, it probably is actually.
it would just be
It
put
is.
into the overall bond, if the school goes through, right?
Right,
Yes.
So instead of being spread out over the 25-year period, it would
we
be
have to
over
pay it back
3
in
year
3
period.
years.
Yeah, okay.
It's included in the 25.
Right.
And get nothing for it.
Okay, well,
Yep.
that's important information.
So.
We're running out of paper to keep
I know,
all
so
this
I think
information.
just.
Getting nervous.
Anything
Yeah.
else on 4?
Nope.
Yes, and what Ellie and I are gonna do, so hopefully by, what day is today, Tuesday? By tomorrow night, hopefully, we will send out another version, and all the new comments and the changes will be in red.
Okay.
And if you guys can get back to us within 24 hours, so by Thursday night, so that we can send it to the paper, that would be helpful. So, if we can get just the general thing, right now, and then just send us back comments if there's something that doesn't, just so we can get through this. Okay.
Okay, number 5. Where's the thing?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
I just noticed there's a mistake on this one. It says on the bottom of number 4, gym floor needs to be replaced. I forgot to cut and paste it up under number 5.
The, at least on this brochure, the third bullet down, it says areas in Pembroke that are smaller than MSBA standards, semicolon, and then just stops. So that's obviously not a sentence.
Yeah.
And I see in here that you have a whole bunch of
No,
bullets.
you know what it
Hold on,
is?
what?
These bullets got moved over. All of these bullets underneath should
How do
go
we
in a
jump to the
little bit.
brochure?
This is the
No, I
list.
don't, I'm,
They're,
I have my comments here, 'cause I-
He's going back.
kind
They're
of going
similar.
back and forth, they're toggling back and
toggling,
forth.
sorry.
I'm
But to
not a
make
toggler. Confusing.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These should have been jogged over a little bit.
Why do you even,
It's a list.
These are
It's
the
meant to
list.
be a list.
See, these are these.
Right.
It just doesn't,
yeah, I mean, I'd take it out then. I mean, it's fine that you have them in here anyways. It's
So
kind of
just
obvious.
take out that whole sentence, areas, okay,
I mean, it's obvious that these are deficiencies, so,
okay.
okay.
See, you've got more space.
So,
we'll leave it like that in the larger one, but on this one, I'll just take it out of there and not bother to,
But you have to
Jog
say
in.
what it's smaller than, you have to put down.
And I
think,
didn't get this.
standards.
why, it says the,
You have to
I'll say
revise that.
smaller than,
You have to revise that.
oh, that's why we did that, because they're all smaller than the
Right,
MSBA
right.
standards.
Right.
Providing a
I have to leave
comprehensive
that, I just have to fix it.
Type of the
It's-
sentence.
I think you
yes,
just have to
I just
exactly
have to
the same
keep
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the
All right,
last
we'll work
bullet,
on that layout.
the last
Key
bullet, provide a
issues.
comprehensive solution to the town's, it's a different sentence structure than all the rest of the bullet, all the rest of the points.
Yeah, we just kinda threw that in,
Yeah. kinda
Yeah.
looks
because that was someone else's
That was
comment.
somebody's comment.
It was someone else's comment, and we just put it there.
And we kept it in there, because it meant a lot to
It
somebody.
just didn't flow with the rest of the sentence structures there,
So do you
No.
think that we need that
Well-
with everything else that we're saying?
Can we
Maybe you
cross
could-
it out?
Maybe you could move it up to number one
Yeah,
or
maybe
something.
move it up or something.
Provide, so
Well,
one of the process,
nobody's
part of
gonna-
the process was it looked, it
To
it
provide.
reviewed the comprehensive, town, well, I guess you already said it.
Yeah.
Right,
Maybe
can we just take it
We
out?
did.
That's
Take
what,
it
we
All
think
right,
we should
we
just
did.
take it out.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
It's
Yeah.
a good sentence, but it doesn't
Yeah.
fit there.
Other
Well, maybe,
comments on
actually,
top?
well, maybe we could add that could be like the bottom bullet to number one, where we
Yeah,
said
that's where I was
evaluated,
Putting it, but,
and some, maybe we can combine it with number one.
yeah,
So where we said, schools district-wide, incorporate it with the town.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, any other comments on number 5?
Nope.
Okay, 6?
I didn't.
I didn't. Anybody? Okay, 7?
Superintendent.
I didn't, yeah, you spelled that.
Where?
super-
There you go.
I probably
Yeah.
spelled it 1,000 different ways. What are we on,
Number seven.
Number 7.
7? Superintendent.
Bold.
And I didn't know if you
Yeah.
wanted, I
It's
don't
right
have
on
an
here, wrong on
I don't have an
here.
objection to having the two things together, but I didn't know if optimizing educational staff materials and programs is separate than minimizing transition for students and families.
Those are two separate animals.
I think maybe
They
they should.
are.
add an
I was
extra
just trying to
bullet.
save space on
I
this
know,
one.
I know.
And I put it on
But if
this
you said to
I know.
minimize transitions for students and families, I do think it is more than just the
For
students.
students.
I
Okay.
agree.
I agree. As a parent who's driven both, yes.
Mm.
All right, so. to
Yep,
optimize
no
learning
problem.
And then to minimize transition for students and families to relieve overcrowding, okay? 8?
Yep, I had second bullet. Allows the town to have an emergency access driveway. I'm wondering, because the other one allowed for an emergency access driveway that was longer, remember? So one of the advantages that I thought
No,
I
we
heard.
chose not to
I know, but-
price that out.
I know, but we could have, the point is we could have had that driveway. We could have.
In the fields?
Yes,
But-
you could have. So let me just tell you what I think the modification might be, and maybe you'll be fine with that. If we do, allows the town to have an emergency access driveway closer to the building in addition to the access to the main entry. I think that's accurate. It
Closer
is,
to the building.
because, if you're thinking about in a fire,
Yeah.
right? The fact that the building's in the woods gives a closer access to the emergency vehicles
Closer to the building.
and closer to Elm Street, closer to Elm Street,
Closer to the building.
Whereas otherwise, if we did the one on the fields, we'd have to create this much longer road and it would take you longer to get to it. It would be less optimal.
All right, what did you say?
I don't think they
again?
would have put a road in.
Yeah,
It wouldn't.
We
I
weren't
don't-
gonna. Yeah, I
Unless it
mean-
was in the woods,
well,
the
it
road
was-
wasn't.
Well, we did
Right.
it one time.
the
We're right,
only-
we
the-
priced
just
it out,
telling you, The reason
right,
why we
yeah.
priced it out, because we had, and the reason why Ellie and I, we want this in here is because we had a lot of conversations about this driveway. We had a lot of
Yeah.
conversations with Elm Street residents, we had many, many conversations about this. And when we were looking at it in the fields, we did not have it. After we made the decision to put it in the woods, we went back and costed it to get more of an apples to apples comparison.
Right.
So that's what happened.
I'm just telling you, there was a lot of discussion that was in public about the fact that there could be, at more expense,
That came up, right.
That there could be.
Right.
So all I'm
You know
saying
what,
is.
closer to the building,
That's right.
and you know what, that's a good idea.
Okay.
All right, so we'll say, allows the town to have an emergency access driveway closer to the building, and what else did you wanna add?
Or closer to Elm Street, what, you know, I'm trying to get at the
Well,
fact that
what
it's
you're-
closer to Elm Street, right, or closer
No,
to
it's
the.
closer to the building
It's
is
closer
what
to the
you're
building.
saying.
From Elm Street.
From Elm Street.
But I've gotta, I appreciate what you're trying to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah,
but we're talking about a couple 100 feet difference. And it's hard from a design perspective to say that that is, in the world of emergency access, any different. I understand that what you're saying, but
so are you saying that this bullet isn't true, or,
I'm struggling with this bullet. I really am, yep.
an emergency?
As it's, the way it is written is true. It allows the town to have an emergency access way. That's true. But what it implies is the other site couldn't. It absolutely implicitly implies the other site couldn't.
But it only discusses choosing the location in the woods, so that was a thought
But-
for that location. We
but-
didn't debate the field's location?
Well, the whole discussion of going in the woods, you know, there was an enormous amount of discussion about safety being one of the primary reasons, and I remember clearly with the fields, we never really discussed the emergency access issue, and it was one that if it had been discussed, you almost could have argued we financially didn't need a second entrance. So that's another whole can that I don't even want to open up. The fact is,
How about something
both
that it
schemes could have
allowed
been.
us to consider or to provide a second means of access, or emergency access, because that's what it did, it allowed us to. Once we went out there, the feasibility was such that it does give you that added safety.
Okay, so it allows the town
But
to
you
have-
could have done the same if we had chosen the field. You
No,
could
no,
have-
but
you
the
could have
point
done
is
it.
that by going out there, you've already built, you know, the road. And it's only that last little link that you haven't done versus,
To get out to the building,
versus, I mean,
into the woods.
it's almost like you can't have the argument both ways, but if we did it on the field, you're saying that we wouldn't have done the emergency access.
It's
right?
possible,
Possible.
it's possible.
But now that we're out there in the woods, it makes that choice a lot easier to make.
Yeah, but
Because we would have it now, because the added cost is negligible.
Right.
Compared to what it would have been.
and I'm gonna keep hammering that one home over and over again. I
It's not
disagree with that.
it's not the price of the overall project. Let's just simply take this one issue of an emergency
Yeah.
egress. If we built on the field, we probably wouldn't have been able to justify the cost to go all the way through the woods with a road and come out on Upper Elm.
That's
We
true.
wouldn't be able to,
But
because,
more importantly,
well, let me just finish.
That's
Okay.
true.
So we probably as a group wouldn't have voted that in, even though, you know, police and fire thought it was a good idea to have a second means. And we probably wouldn't have done it with a loop of the water either, because that extra cost would not be justified. Now, once we do go out in the woods, the road and the water's already built, and it's an easy connection going over to the side. So therefore, going out there allowed us to have that option of having a second means of egress. It's just a benefit of being out there, that now you can have a second means of egress without much more cost.
but,
Right. So
but
can you say
how,
less?
how is that a benefit when if you had stayed in the field, you would have spent a significantly less amount of money?
So why is it a benefit?
Well, remember, I thought we
The
said it was
benefit,
$1
one,
million.
because of the water flow, having a loop rather than a dead end, okay? Number two, the emergency egress is a benefit because the fire department and the police both thought that was a good thing.
We
and
never,
all think it's
we
a good
never
thing.
talked with the fire department about
I
the
thought
in
we
the
did.
field, in the fields. We never talked with them about this emergency access as a second way in. It was never discussed.
We talked about the
Carl
second
met
means
with
egress,
with
absolutely.
everybody.
Not with, not with the fields, not with the fields.
I think
Not
what
the
Rob is
meetings I
saying,
did.
it wasn't, you know, going back ahead
I
of.
think we're getting a little off track. I mean, we've had all these debates. Right now, we're just trying to
Okay.
put the facts down
We
to
just have
get
to
it
say
to the
how,
public.
what is the fact?
And, you know, I just, and, you know, to Rob's
So
point.
what's the statement?
There was a safety issue. There were more safety issues, I think, with going in the woods, and one of those was the emergency access. Another was the construction. The the driveway was a safety issue.
I think what Rob is saying is, it wasn't a reason why we chose the woods.
Absolutely.
No, but
Over
it
the
didn't say
field.
what were the
Benefit.
reasons, it says what were factors.
Yeah, but it
Choosing
was
the
an
woods.
app, as
Same
Jeff's
thing.
argument was stating, it was a benefit that came after it. It wasn't a reason or a factor that determined to go in the woods.
I mean, either way, we either
Yeah,
way,
I
we
think
could have
it
had
was.
an access
I don't know
road,
about that,
whether we're
Rob.
in the woods or we weren't.
Right.
Well,
And that's what Rob's saying.
That's my point.
Right.
If we had left the school where it is, we could have still put the road in.
But it's at less cost
Sort of less
and
cost,
less,
right.
and less
Right.
construction, so maybe that's what you say.
But,
No, I wouldn't say
by
that.
moving the, from where the existing site into the woods is a lot more costly. So it's a wash either way. I mean, I don't think that was really the reason why we put
Choosing
we
the
put it in the woods. We could have had the access
I
road
agree,
either way.
I agree.
But, and the money would have been, more expensive, obviously, where we are now. If we put it in the woods, that car drives the cost up, which compensates for paying less for the water and the access road. So
No, I can
I don't
see
think
both
that
ways.
was totally. I don't think that was totally the reason. I agree with Rob. It does allow us to have it, but the other choice would have allowed us to, and a rental would allow us to have it too.
Right, but
But at what
we're
cost?
not saying that.
Right. Right.
I guess the way I'm viewing this is, we're not saying that. We're not saying we're doing it because. We're just simply saying, being in the woods allows us to have it. That's all we're
Well, can
saying.
you say provides a shorter
I think it's
access
closer.
road?
Or a
Okay, how
more
about
Okay, so
accessible,
if you're
easy,
looking at the woods versus
easily
like where
accessible.
we are today.
Yeah, not as
like,
far away.
That's
We
right.
don't have one today.
Right.
We don't have one today. We have one way in
How
and
about
one
if
way
you just
out.
change the sentence at the beginning of,
It provides.
instead of key factors in choosing, what are the benefits of having it in the woods?
Sure, because either way,
Benefits.
Because if you want to say a benefit, one of the benefits is that we have an emergency, easy.
But
It
but you
provides
could-
a shorter,
But
easy.
couldn't you say the same thing? One of the benefits of putting it in the fields was to have an emergency access drive
but we're
in
not putting it
addition?
in the fields, so we don't wanna
But,
bring up the fields. We wanna.
but you're saying this is a.
But it does
you're
provide a
implying-
shorter
you're
access.
You're implying that, you're absolutely implying that you couldn't have done this in the fields. At least that's how I read it. That's just how I read it. It implies you're not putting, now, if, in terms of transparency, if you wanted to say something like, while the fields also allowed for this option, that by placing it in the woods, we cut off X lineal feet and gained the we saved X lineal feet. That's the only difference that is
Well,
true.
yeah, but Robert, look
Well,
at but 1 second, hear me out for one. The efficiency of traffic flow is improved. That's true for both options too.
For a
That is
shorter
correct.
emergency
So, I mean, are we really
But-
getting too
I
much
think-
into semantics here?
Yeah.
I think choosing benefits over factors is
Right.
kind of
Okay.
changes the.
So what
I
are
think
the
so,
So
benefits?
can you say it allows for a shorter
So I
emergency
don't wanna say
access
it's a
from the
reason.
school to Elm Street?
Well,
Yeah.
then
Isn't
it
that a
doesn't go under
statement?
key factor.
That's true? It provides
Well-
a shorter emergency access from the school to Elm Street
That's,
for emergency
My
vehicles.
only thing is, we don't
Factually-
have an emergency
factually,
access
that's
today.
true.
See, I think the shortness was a
Well,
big
that was,
part of this.
for me it was.
Because,
That's-
because we
The
discussed $1
proximity,
million
the proximity
for
of the road to where the school
Carol,
was
and-
in
and
the woods was key.
we
That was one
threw
thing.
numbers out.
The proximity to where the road was, to where the location in the woods was a key factor.
Yes,
I mean, it was like right there. I walked it. I mean,
Right.
you know.
right, that's why I'm
Well, I think I
trying to,
just keep the whole thing simple.
well, that's why I think.
I like
saying
Carol's idea, allows the town to have an emergency
A
access
shorter
driveway
emergency access.
closer to the main entry. Or
Closer to the building.
closer to the building. It does, I mean, we're not
That,
saying
that's,
anything,
that's the fact,
no pun
that's
intended,
true.
we're not saying anything out of school.
No?
And
Put it,
that-
boom, I got a million of them.
Allows the town to have an
That is-
emergency access driveway closer to the building.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
That is,
really.
that is exactly correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Keep
we'll add
going.
in the number of, Jeffy, we'll try to find out what the
How you
number of
want
queuing
stacking
spaces.
spaces.
Yep,
Yep.
for there, we'll try to add
Yeah.
that in, where instead of longer queuing, we'll say X number of queuing spaces. Okay, is there
X,
anything else?
X number of queuing spaces compared to what?
Compared to current.
How many additional cars
actually-
can you
Oh,
queue
geez.
up?
So this may have
This
to go
is
up in that
comparison
sentence,
to
but no,
fields.
it's a good point. It may have to go up in the sentence before,
cut me off.
you know, I mean, one
Number
of the
two.
numbers before that we talked about, was it 2
Checking a new
or
building.
something?
Right, the
because-
75 more spaces, was that compared to the fields?
Yes,
Yeah.
they both are compared to the field.
So compared to
current.
other.
And they weren't, not current?
Or
Right.
current.
Well,
The-
that's,
the field scheme solved the queuing problem.
right,
Why don't
So,
we,
the-
why don't
because
we
you-
ask
you gotta-
Carl? Let's check with Carl tomorrow and find out what
Right.
these numbers
Number-
If
are.
you put
number
it in
two-
number two,
Number
yeah.
two was choose, because remember, we voted separately on all of these. We
Yeah.
voted separately on the location, the building, the grade group, so number two was specifically, you know, our conversations around why we did the new building. Number 8 was around what we did for the
Where we
location.
put it.
So I think that one of the big points on number two, now that I better understand this, is that that I'd like to let everybody know is that compared to what we have now, the queuing space is X more,
Yeah.
which is huge.
X more than required. That's,
Or X more than what we have now.
Yeah, because everybody's concerned about
Because
what we have
I'm
now.
thinking about the traffic out on Elm Street right now.
and we're saying the same thing,
Yeah, okay.
required is what's necessary for now.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Because that's a
So we'll
huge
just put the
point.
numbers there. Okay,
Okay.
Perfect.
yep.
And then on this, and again, I don't know if this is the same one, but the second to last bullet on the brochure, is that the same thing? The playground and play field would be unavailable throughout years of construction.
Yeah.
If this is a key factor to choosing the woods, that's actually the negative of what we really want to say. That the fields are available over
That's correct.
over the
That is correct.
over the
Okay.
years of construction,
All right, so.
rather than being built upon.
It's just the opposite.
Okay.
It's just the opposite of this.
Yeah.
So.
Do we have that on this one too?
No, it's different on the, you have here basically that these different groups express support for
Eight.
choosing the site by adding an additional playing field at the end.
No, but that's the
Okay.
last one. That's
That's
the last
the, no,
sentence.
Oh,
it
which one
does
you
say,
wrote?
on the
One additional
third
field,
bullet on
second to
number
last
8,
one.
it has to be
Second
changed, so the
last
playground
one
and
is,
play
so
field
it's
would
so
be
it's not on here.
So anyways, on this thing, it's
Would be
Available.
available.
Oh, here
throughout
it
the
is.
years of construction.
remain
Playground and
available.
playing
Yeah.
fields would be unavailable, right.
right,
Would-
rather than
Actually,
Would
I like that
remain
better,
available.
Yeah.
would remain
It's
available.
positive.
Would remain
Yeah.
available.
I've got that.
That's a good call.
anything on 8. Anything else?
Just on that last bullet, it doesn't work with the correction of available put in above, but one additional field will be added. Is it for sure a field being added?
Yeah.
Where the building's
Where the
being
building
torn down.
was.
But
Yeah.
they're looming, seating,
Yeah.
setting it
Yeah.
all up.
Yep, they do the
Yeah.
whole thing.
They do the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
The net gain
The-
is one field
so do
overall.
I think what AJ's point is that, you know, taking out our meeting with Parks and Rec, taking out that whole part.
No, I was just, I know that they'd level it, but I didn't know that they'd
Yeah,
loom
right.
and,
Yeah.
and get it ready
Yeah.
for
We're gonna-
athletic field
We're gonna have two
prior
fields
to.
there.
It's all included.
So.
Two
If I
field,
remember,
yeah.
yeah.
They did that either, but that's.
Well, I mean, that's a
But-
hot,
but-
He
but-
did- he
Are they,
just confirmed it,
are they
yeah.
doing that, or, are they doing that, or is that on the town's dime?
No,
They
it's
do
part,
it.
it's part of the
Part of the
project.
project.
well,
know it's-
ultimately it's our dime,
It's our dime.
because we're gonna exceed the site
Well,
cost.
that's,
I'm sorry?
It's part of site cost,
It's-
right?
Yes.
It's
so
included now.
So
It's in the scope.
It's in the scope.
It's in the
budget.
scope,
It's in the budget that we're presenting to the town.
Right.
correct.
We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Complete field.
Okay, anything else?
On 8, no.
9?
I just wasn't sure in the last bullet, provides some space for town, should it be and/or school use?
That's fine.
Based, you know,
Actually,
determined
did you,
based on.
I can't remember why we added school in there.
Carol wanted to.
Because I said, well, maybe
Yeah.
there could be some other, you know,
Right.
programs we wanna
Expand
add or
on.
expand on something.
I don't like the word some. I mean, it provides some
Provide
space.
space.
Just, you can
I-
delete
this
the
says
word
here,
some.
Yeah, it says here, provide space.
Yeah,
I like that.
I had to make things more concise on this one.
Sometimes it's better that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
For town and or school use,
Yeah.
okay?
i.e. senior center.
All right, number 10.
And there's no question on construction start, right? I mean, that would start in the summer of
2013.
2013.
Assuming you get the favorable vote.
Yeah.
It'd be also
Okay.
to start late summer, very early fall of 13, be open for 15.
Okay. Number 11.
Are you missing a bullet? We're a little.
Yep.
No, because that's
Oh,
not a
you know
bullet,
what?
it's a
This one's like the only
statement.
ones that's a
'cause
statement.
yeah, I was gonna say, it looks different because.
Yeah.
It
It
is
is.
because it's a
It's
statement.
a statement.
I know,
We
but-
didn't make it a bullet.
Put a bullet.
Just make it a
Put a
bullet?
Make it a
Yeah.
bullet.
Okay.
Okay.
Looks better.
All right.
Michelle,
You also
Yes.
need space.
can I go back to number 8 for
Nope.
just a second? I was gonna, then
Yes,
said
you can, yes, you
Go
can.
All right,
Of course
George, go
you
ahead,
can.
go ahead.
I was wondering if we could consider moving the Conservation Commission agent, because it's really, has nothing to do with his purview. It's like saying the town clerk likes the additional playing field. I mean,
That's true.
doesn't have any conservation value. So, I mean, why is his,
Because he was at the meeting, that's the only reason we put it in?
yeah, but it does, it's like saying if the town clerk was at the meeting and she liked it too. I mean,
It's not the board.
it
It's
doesn't
not the
represent,
board.
yeah,
Point.
I would just remove him.
Because he's not a board, I see what you're
Okay.
saying, okay.
He's a board, but he's not a board member.
He doesn't even live in
Meeting
town,
with
so I mean, he doesn't
representatives.
provide any value to him if he likes it.
Just
The
he's a
NGA.
paid employee,
Yeah.
he's not on the board.
But he's on board with the club.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine,
Okay.
thank you.
No problem.
Okay,
Okay.
number,
I don't think I used
12.
them at all.
And I know we're trying to save space, but, and the first bullet, overcrowding use of inadequate classrooms that will be addressed in removing the sixth grade from middle high school. I mean, I think
Stronger.
that inappropriate spaces used for some special ed programs in classrooms is, I'm just thinking there were some very specific things that they were concerned about in terms of these inadequate classrooms.
Yeah.
It was the inappropriate spaces used for some special education programs. It was inadequate interior classrooms.
Wait a minute, go slower.
I'm spewing them so you can determine whether you want to put them.
No, I do.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll slow down the spew then. So
Inappropriate-
inappropriate spaces used for some special education programs.
Okay,
Another bullet is inadequate interior classrooms with no natural light being used as classrooms.
Yep.
Moisture problems in the building. Those were we're on
Yep,
number
keep
12,
going.
Doug.
Keep going.
So those,
She's
were- to
adding
me,
these,
though,
Doug.
to me, those were the things those were big things that they noticed. That's what made the spaces inadequate.
So you're giving definition to it.
How many storerooms were being used for classrooms now?
Oh, let's see. 1, 2. 2, but then there were spaces that were like smaller, like underneath the stairwell over by the music room.
Yeah, they weren't
And
considered
were-
storerooms, but they
I
weren't
would
real,
say
they weren't
50%
classrooms.
50% of the spaces for special education, they commented on. That either didn't have natural light or weren't big enough, in their opinion, weren't comparable to other classroom spaces that would be
And they weren't
used.
built for classrooms either.
Correct, so in
They
some
weren't.
cases they weren't.
I mean, so even
So
though
that-
it wasn't a storeroom, but it still wasn't built for a classroom, there were students being taught. I mean, that's what I saw on the tour.
Absolutely.
So I think what we ought to do is cross out, keep overcrowding, cross
Yes,
out use
yes,
of
yes.
inadequate,
Yes.
overcrowded classrooms.
You could say overcrowding,
Just
which will
overcrowded
be-
classrooms that will be addressed by removing.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
then we'll bullet each of these. Inappropriate spaces used for some special education programs,
Yep.
classrooms with no natural light, and moisture problems in the
inadequate,
building.
I like interior classrooms.
they were
so people can
specifically in
visualize
terms-
it. They're
Interior classrooms.
Inadequate interior classrooms with no natural light.
And then moisture problems in the building.
Yep, and all these others are fine.
Interior classrooms, no natural light.
Could I interject one thing on the middle high school?
Yep.
Before we go too far, just as a thought, when you get into number 4, it talks about the middle high school project and so forth. Just again, the issue may come up, you know, if the Pembroke fails, then you can always do the middle high school. You cannot do the middle high school
Right.
without the Pembroke. Because one of the big ingredients is to decompress the middle high school,
Right.
to bring that grade over
Right.
to the new Pembroke.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't have a middle high school project without the Pembroke. You'd have to have, if you wanted to do something at the middle high school, it becomes a whole new project. Because
said
you
that
can't
last
ever
night,
solve
people
the
yelled at
biggest
me.
problem. Remember, MSBA said, we think you need a bigger building.
Yeah.
Well, the fact is, we said we don't need a bigger building by moving to one grade. But you do have to move a grade to get that overcrowding that's an ES issue out of the way.
Right.
So it's important to note, if you don't do Pembroke, you can't do the current project at the middle high school as designed.
I think I mentioned that last night, and everybody kinda yelled at me, but I thought I was right. There is that tie-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. But they all yelled at me last night.
You've been,
So how do you
You've
say
been
that if we don't
justified.
do the Pembroke project, we can't do, we,
Well,
You can't do the, you
Well,
can't
we
do the
would have to
current
start
project as
at
designed,
ground
because you
zero.
can't decompress the middle high school, you can't remove the
can't move
grade
kids. Yeah.
necessary to alleviate the
Can't free up
overcrowding
space.
problem.
I mean, we could still do a feasibility study on what needs to be done
Yeah.
with the high school by itself.
And it would mean, an addition because you have to get rid of the overcrowding problem.
Right.
You have to find
Right.
some place to put
But-
the children.
And I
So-
think to Pat's point too, I mean, the MSBA is not gonna come and say, we're gonna reimburse you $85,000 to do a study on that if our Pembroke project fails.
Exactly, you'd be
They're-
on
they're
your
not-
own.
exactly.
The
We'll be on our
85,000
own.
would be
That's
a
why
lot more than
I think they're gonna
85,000,
That's what I
but it's
mean.
not tied to
Right.
Pembroke, you know, I mean, it's
'Cause-
being done as an adjunct to Pembroke, so it'd mean going in and obviously going through the process of, again, you'd be looking at an SOI for the middle high school project, is what
So,
you'd be.
so let me ask a question. Should we keep these as two separate warrants or put them as one?
You don't have that choice
We
right now.
don't have
That's-
that choice.
They are two separate
Yeah,
ones.
They are.
the warrants, yeah.
They are.
Why? Because you can't approve the one for 85 unless you approve the one for.
If it fails, we'll
46.
pass over. They're in order.
Well, you won't, oh, if it fails at
If it
town
fails-
meeting.
No, I'm
If it
talking about it.
If
Oh,
it
oh,
fails.
does the 85 have to go to town, to town vote?
Yes.
Yes.
No,
No.
just, it's just
No,
town meeting.
town meeting.
Just town meeting.
Well,
So
that's-
if,
That's why you separate them.
right,
Got it.
we got them all
If the
separate.
school
There's
vote
three of them.
fails at
understand.
town meeting.
There's
it doesn't
actually
go to
three.
I know
ballot.
there's a third one, but, no, I understand it.
We did three of them.
Doug,
Whether
did you
you
have
put
a
a bullet in here or
comment?
not, I mean, the fact is, everybody should be aware.
Right.
Without Pembroke, you don't have a middle high school project as it's currently designed, as it does
Is that
in
a book that you added?
and eliminate
I
the
think-
overcrowding.
They put that in.
See, in the,
She just
in the
added.
writing then of the 85,000 one, then that has to be somehow stated that if the Pembroke doesn't go, then this one doesn't go.
We just,
Well,
we
yeah, I
won't
think-
even bring it up on floor, it'll be passed
No,
over.
no, no.
Right.
No, no,
Where
he
where it
means
I'm
says-
as
assuming,
in-
let's
in
say,
the
let's say I assume,
bullets.
Well,
let's say
that-
for.
she's
for-
putting it in there as a.
Yeah, let's say for
That'll come
instance
in
that I
discussion,
assume,
right.
I assume that
But this
the,
is a better place to put
that they
it.
both pass
Put it- no,
at
it's gonna go
town
right
meeting.
here.
Because these
And
are
then
gonna
the
be together.
school
What
goes
needs to be
to
done to address
town
that? You
vote.
need the Pembroke
Right.
project.
Where it has to go
Right.
through another vote.
But
So,
what
so
Pat
it's
was
already
saying
gonna
is
be
you put
past
it
that.
here.
But yeah, let's
Yeah.
say it doesn't
If it
pass
doesn't
at the
pass.
ballot.
We'll
doesn't pass at the
rescind,
ballot.
we spoke about this
Repeated
last night, we'll
Okay.
rescind
Might
at
wanna
the
say
next
it,
town
I think
meeting.
that's a good idea.
Right,
Yeah.
Mike? We'll rescind the,
Actually, I think,
Yeah.
I think the
No.
MSBA is gonna tell you
Yeah,
if it-
yeah.
that
the
they're
warrant.
not.
We'll
they're not-
rescind it, the $85,000 feasibility study at the next town meeting. So, to your point,
so you can do it that way?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we talked about, we worked all this out last
so to
night.
make sure, yeah. But-
All right, sorry. Doug, did you?
Two quick questions.
Yep.
On number 9, is all of that done at no cost?
What is your question?
Space at Pearl.
Right about, yeah,
So all that done.
So all those things there, expand this, do this, da-da-da, create this, relocate special education curriculum offices, allocate
Yep.
space of SWIC, that's all done at no cost.
Well, right now, the preschool programs are all 100% self-sufficient,
No, no,
so
no.
that
No,
would
no.
continue.
We'll take this plus.
I'm just
All
trying to
these
put-
other things done at no cost.
Yeah,
There's no modifications to the building,
no, no,
right?
no. The only question would be, you know, depending on what the,
You don't have to reconfigure the bathrooms for adults.
nope, they're not little toilets, they're human-sized toilet, I mean, not.
Human size.
I don't mean-
You mean
I don't
kids
mean-
aren't
I don't mean
humans?
human
Oh
size.
my God.
I don't mean human size, I mean, they're
Adult size.
They're adult size.
What's
No,
going
they're
on?
not kids, they're humans.
What's going on over there?
they're adequate.
Oh, the poor little kids.
But to your,
No additional.
Bring it on.
Doug, the only, to your point,
It's just yes or no. Is there-
well, no,
is there-
there is, I'd say no on all of them except for the last one.
Because that's the unknown.
Provide some
We don't know
space
what's
for
gonna
town and, provide space for town and school use. We don't know what that space could be until we figure it out after. So there could be idle space at that school that we may wanna do something else
So,
at a
could-
town level.
Could incur additional expense.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that.
No,
No, because if there's not a budget, then you're gonna use what you have.
You're providing an optional space that allows the opportunity, if the town wants to
That's right.
proceed
the
with it.
town wants to modify it down the road to
Then-
use it
then
for
do it.
something.
But that's additional expense.
Maybe.
No,
It
but
doesn't
would
have to
if
be.
That's the thing.
No, it
doesn't
could stay the
have
way
to.
it is.
I'm
There's
just
no,
saying.
no, then that's a no.
No,
Not going
it's a
on
no, yeah, I agree.
Then up in number 12, just to clarify my simple brain, if you already know everything that's wrong over there at the school for space, at the middle high school, and the architects have already been over there, and the architects have already drawn little
The key is the
white-
preliminary
whiteboard-
work.
Whiteboard things, why do you need $85,000 to find out all the stuff you already know?
What they basically
Well, theirs
did
was
was
just-
really a space summary. When they were in there, they looked very preliminary at these things that were listed here, and, that's where this list came from. but they don't have the drawings done, they don't have the costs done. I mean, they gave us very, very ballpark figures, which, that's something else we have to talk about. We don't even know if we're gonna include it on this for the high school, but in order to, work with the MSBA and get possible reimbursement from them, we have to go through their process, which includes the feasibility study. It was not a complete feasibility study, it was a space study only.
It wasn't even a
No,
feasibility.
it wasn't
study.
even
It was
a
not.
feasibility
It was a
study.
study.
Right, but it was
It was-
MSBA that made you go over there.
That is correct, because they wanted us to be sure that pulling the sixth grade out would alleviate the overcrowding issue. They wanted us to look at a K through 7 school and a K through 8. Okay, and that space study told us pulling sixth grade out would alleviate the overcrowding issues that we had, and we were fine with the K through 6. That was the whole reason that we did that. It was not a complete feasibility study. I mean, the architects went out on a limb a little bit and gave us a little dollar figure and some things that have to be done.
Which in the end, actually, by finding out that we were okay with K through 6 and in the high school, middle high school, 7 through 12 would fit, that saved us, what, 5 million per class
Yep.
to have to build, over in the Pembroke
That's
school.
right.
If we had to bring 7 over or 7 and 8 over, it would have been $5 or $10 million more. So that was a good
Right.
study to find that out,
Right.
so.
Yep,
All
I
right.
was just curious on that.
yep.
I remember sitting in a meeting where he explained that whole thing, and identified all the spaces.
Yep, no,
Right,
he really
it was-
did quite a bit.
There's a lot more to
It
do.
was
But
with
it's
that.
not, but
We
it
didn't get
wasn't a
good
real
price.
study.
I think you addressed that earlier, though, when we were talking about how
It
you're gonna
wouldn't pass
modify
the-
those, you
it
said
wouldn't pass the
it's
test.
gonna give us the,
Oh, I'm just saying.
Listen,
detailed
It's down.
study, you have that in there,
Design.
it's, yeah.
Beyond that, right.
All right,
Number
so
two.
keep going.
We're
Right,
done.
so on number 12, so to that point, Carl gave us very rough estimates
Yeah.
that the work to fix that preliminary list, which is not all inclusive because we don't know, is $3 million. Do we want to include that in here? And the point being, obviously if we do a middle high school feasibility study, we're not talking a $46 million project like we are with the Pembroke. We don't know what it's going to be, but we wanted to give people an idea, but then there's also concerns that if we throw $3 million out and then they do the feasibility study and they find another huge thing that's not listed here that, bumps it up
I
to
think
5,
it's
6,
risky.
7, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer
Hope
is.
not. I hope not.
Is there a, for a new school, you're talking a $275 square foot building cost? Is there,
Plus
is there,
8% of, 8% for site, plus 20% for soft cost, so that 275 gets you.
I'm just talking about the square footage of the school,
No, he's saying that we gotta add more numbers.
I'm saying,
You
but
gotta add.
rather, if you're talking about the cost of a project, it's the.
I'm wondering if there's a renovation cost, like that would go into GMS, that, I say $150 a square foot for,
Yeah, what we've been
Oh, I
finding,
see.
once you get
I
done
see
with
what
all
you're
of the
saying.
attendance, square footages and everything else you add on, you start getting pretty close to new construction costs, because you start dealing with phasing, and it takes a lot longer.
I think what he's asking is, we have a number or an estimate of what it would be for a new school. We all know a number or should. Is there a number for renovation? A similar way to just say for renovations, it's gonna be $150. But I would
Yeah.
say that being an architect, there is not a number because you just don't know what the scope is. The scope of a new school, you know. The scope of a renovation, I mean, if you have to replace the entire HVAC system, heating and ventilating system, or you have to replace every one of the windows, or you have to put on a whole new roof, those are big ticket items. And if you don't need to do them, then your cost goes way down.
well,
So-
we've
so there's no way to
identified,
tell.
we've identified like spacing that needs to be modified. And I'm wondering if is a renovation.
That's what the
for-
feasibility study would do.
Right.
I mean, they took a quick look and they said, what, between
And they
2
were
and 3
pretty
million?
clear that it was just a ballpark.
ballpark, it's a-
They
It
were
was a-
pretty,
it was a
they were
ballpark.
pretty clear about it.
I wouldn't
Because
put
they
the
haven't
number in there.
investigated everything yet.
They were pretty clear
We
about
can't
that.
be solid about the number.
We have no idea. really.
I think I was one of the ones
Who
pushing
pushed it,
to
yeah.
get this number in, and I think if we can, we should, but I don't want to give false information,
Right.
and
And panic people.
I mean, a range might be good,
But
But
we really don't
but
know.
really
when
don't
they
know.
go in there
We
and do
don't know
that
what it
study,
is.
We don't know if they're gonna find anything else big that would pop it out of the range.
I think you're best to stick with, the money for the feasibility study to determine the cost.
Yeah, the
But you
reason,
don't
that's what you're
want-
doing it for.
I mean, people might think in their mind it's another $20, $30 million project, which I don't think it will be. Granted, I can't say that for sure. but based on, yeah, I mean, it's not
But
gonna be.
we're pretty
you
sure
know-
that it's not.
I'm
gonna
sure
be-
it's not gonna be a
No, no.
Well,
20,
that-
30
that's
million
what I
dollar
mean, like,
project.
like,
Breaking
you
out
know,
the highs.
No, I know, but no, I'm just saying, for somebody looking at this, going, oh my God, another feasibility study, looking at the list that we have, you know, and knowing some of the numbers that we've thrown out, what it would cost to fix Pembroke, you know, I mean,
But we have to let
This
them know
is
the
lower.
scope, the
This is
modification. It's
lower.
not as big of a
Yeah.
project.
I mean,
Right.
if it's,
But that's the
if
benefit
there's a
of-
range that Carl or you might be comfortable with that it could be, I mean, knowing what you know.
Well, your answer is the right answer. I mean, there's no way of knowing until you get into this whole thing. What they've done basically is they've looked at this whole exercise was to develop the kid, is there enough space in that school if you move the seventh up? Is there enough room in the school? That was the question.
Right.
The whole issue of coming up with costs, if you remember correctly, we weren't even supposed to do that.
Right.
So they looked at these spatial areas and they said, okay, if we move these areas out, we're gonna end up with these voids. And they simply looked at, okay, we'll need a petition here, you know, petitions are worth X number of dollars. We'll need a window there, we'll need a door over here. There's been no code review and there's been no intensive review of these systems. So that if you're simply looking at those spaces and saying, we're gonna move a register and a grill from here to here, it isn't going in to look at the overall system.
Right.
So that's how that's been looked at, and it's been done with really square footages. There's been no analysis as to where the pipes are gonna run.
Right.
They said, well, if you need to move if you're gonna do this, we're gonna move a petition over from here to there.
But
We
in a
don't know if
conceptual sense,
MSBA
you
will
could
even
get
help
it.
reimburse
Yeah,
it.
that's what they, and that's
I
pretty
think-
much.
Right, but that's why we have to do the
a
feasibility
conceptual
study
idea
to
of
say-
just
Exactly.
But I
modifying
thi-
those
but I
spaces.
think it's important, you know,
To
if we
understand
really
it's
think
not
that
10 or
it's very
20.
unrealistic that this is gonna be a $20 or $30 million project, I think that's important for people to know, because reading this and looking at this list of things, and like I said, knowing what we've known about some of the issues with Pembroke and the figures that have been thrown out, people could think that this could be 10, 20, $30 million.
But Carl did break it down and gave a number to each one
He
of these.
he did, and then, you know, I talked to him, and he said, you know, for this list above here, which is what I stated, this list, not including anything else they find, is about $3 million. Very, very, very rough numbers. That's, you know, I'll double check with Carl,
So
but I
maybe you
mean,
state that, I mean, maybe we find a way to state that we say that, you know,
Just
based on
say-
the items listed above, identified above, it's thought to be, you know,
A $3 to $5 million project.
Preliminary estimates.
you know, $3 million project, but final numbers won't be known until the feasibility study's done.
I mean, that's all Peter did last night with the road, right? He said like
That works.
1.8 million, but
Right.
that was
Yeah.
his best guess, right?
No, it's not a best guess. He had actually a
Best estimate.
professional come in and do it.
yeah, I mean, but, I mean,
Well,
DRA
Carl's a-
guessed.
yeah.
They gave us their best guess at what this list would cost,
Yeah.
plus some of the programmatic things with the petitions and stuff, that is included in the 3 million, but it's what they looked at. I mean, remember, they did not do a complete feasibility study.
I mean, just make it clear that it's not, these aren't the numbers, but best guess at this time, based
So
on.
you wanna, like, write best guess, I mean.
No, I think what you have here, rough estimates for the GMHS capital
What about preliminary?
program
Yeah,
repairs
preliminary
listed
from the
above.
architect.
Preliminary rough estimates.
I would say from the architect, I mean, so preliminary from whom?
Preliminary estimates for the GMHS
From
capital and
DRA. I
program
would put from
repairs
DRA.
listed above are approximately 3 million, but final numbers will not be known without a feasibility
I would
study.
if you're gonna put
Or
just
range.
one number, I would
Yeah.
make it
3
a
to 5
range,
million.
3 to 5, and,
Yeah, I did put a range too.
and,
Okay.
You know what I just did real quick?
because I
If you
guarantee
take,
it's gonna be more
take
than
seven-
3 to 4 million.
Just make
this
sure
is
that
really
works for
down and dirty,
Carl,
but if you
'cause he
take
might-
720,000 on a $46 million project, 85,000 comes out to about 5.5 million on the other project.
What?
Pretty rough math, but if you take 80,
Yeah, I don't know.
700,
I'm not
Again,
buying that, because they've had so many renovations at the high school, we've
Two
gotta
bananas.
have
well,
some
I,
good
I
news
remember
there.
4 million, but that's all right.
But if
I
he's
remember
saying,
4 million too. David.
Yeah,
I do.
that was
if
my
he's
number.
saying
I
3,
thought.
then say 3 to 4 million.
What's the problem with saying 3 to 5?
Yeah, 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
3 to 5. 3 to 5 million. Okay.
Okay, so number 13,
13 and 14 are gonna be combined now.
right. No, we made, yes, and then we made another separate
Yep,
14.
13, these, yep.
All right, so what needs to be done?
3. Oh, are we done with, oh, I thought,
We're,
We're not.
sorry, I thought we were on number 3.
no, we're on
No.
13.
13 and 14, so what
So
did
13
you done
was
to address
crossed
the
out.
issues?
Mike's slow.
No, we only pressed out the drainage part.
Yeah, I think we did some.
We kept
Right,
the
the drainage
first
part
bullet.
10
was out.
o'clock last night.
So I'm curious, you know, just listening to people's questions that they're asking, I just wanna make sure. One question that I hear quite a bit is, so we get it that something needs to be done at Pembroke, but why now? Why don't we wait to build this new school when, you know, it might be a
We've been
better
waiting for
time for
12
the
years.
town? I'm just telling you,
Right.
so the question is, if that's a question that people have, if we don't put it in this fact sheet, we need to be prepared that it may come forward. So, you know, to me, the answer to that is, you know, the costs are gonna continue to go up, you know, the
we
MSBA
put that in
considered it
this.
was urgent, you know, but it's just a question that I know I've heard people asking. The other question I've heard people asking are, what are the long-term or long-range benefits to the town if a project is voted at Pembroke? Like, why is it important? What's the town get out of it?
I like that question, what are the long-range benefits?
Right. And then the other one is, what happens to the $750 paid for the study if the project is not approved, but you kind of
Talked
dealt
about
with that already.
Yeah.
Those are three questions that I know people ask me or talk to me about, so they're obviously questions that are out there.
I think
I
we've
think the-
addressed why we need a new building.
I think the first
Pretty-
one goes back even to what George said in the beginning about giving a little more history about why we need it now, because we've been trying to work on this since 1997. And things haven't gotten better from overcrowding and the building issues at the school. Nothing's gotten better, because we really haven't done anything to it, except for replace the one boiler.
Mhm. That's
So-
a great
It's never,
bullet to the
it's,
question.
it's never gonna cost less.
It's never gonna cost less.
It's never gonna cost less.
The funding from the state might not be available in 3 years. Yeah, I'm just telling you
But I
what,
think we really need to let, and I think most people know, but I think you really have to drive home the fact that we're gonna get $20 million from the state to do this project. Why now?
Why now?
There's a
That's
big
the
reason why now, is we're gonna get $20 million to do the project.
So we should ask that.
That's gotta be one of the first and foremost, you know, reasons why, is because we've got accepted, we put in for the study, and what, how many years ago? And we've got accepted, and we've got a partner that wants to give us $20 million to put a new school for our kids, and for our kids, that's the benefit to the town. I mean, we're picking up an asset at 54% of the cost of it.
So not that
It's
I'm looking to
huge.
change this whole thing, but
no, and I'm pleased, I'm
No,
not
but- No, I
think
suggesting
that's
that,
a
I'm
side
just saying,
issue.
but I do
do
think
we,
the
do we
issue.
put a question like that, almost like near number one? Like, why are we doing this now? And so.
No, not why. What are the long-range benefits? That's what
No,
I
but
put.
that's, it's different of why we're doing it
But,
now.
but, be
Why aren't we
careful,
waiting?
because I'm not so sure that this committee was formed to express the long-term benefits of the school. We were supposed to sit down and go through the process and find the best option for the town. Those issues are left up to interpretation, to be honest with you. I don't think that that's this committee's job to answer those questions.
That's fine.
I think that's, you know, for
They
individuals
just have to be,
answer.
somebody's got to answer
Well,
them.
those will be answered. I mean, that's discussion for town meeting floor. I don't think it's this committee's, you know, job to do that. We have to stick with the facts, you know, and if people want to ask those questions, you know, then, you know, I don't think that we have to answer those questions now. We have to stick to the facts.
Right, but why now? I mean,
Why now? Well, the why now
we kinda
question
answered
is,
that, talking about that
Yeah,
urgent
'cause
and
it's been
needy
waiting.
and-
I think the
but
why now we
putting
can
in, you
answer.
know, that $20 million isn't gonna be there. You know, it might be there in 5 or 10 years, but by then, I don't know how much more we're gonna have spent at Pembroke to fix Pembroke, whatever goes wrong, and
But the cost doesn't go down, I
cost
think, I mean,
doesn't
I
go
think
down.
there are two
We
or
have-
three,
we have
3 or
that
4
somewhere.
bullets.
Right here, in the old one.
Yeah, the why now,
Why
I
now.
think you can answer that. The long-term benefits to the town, I
Where's
don't
that?
think that that's for this committee.
It's the very first question. Why does Pembroke need a building project? The Pembroke School has served the town well since its inception in 1971. Aging infrastructure has led to safety concerns and space limitations. Costly and needed repairs are anticipated in the near future, including repairing, replacing antiquated heating, ventilation, plumbing, and mechanical systems, and the rubberized roof, which is more than
I think
15
you've
years
answered
old.
that in other questions. That's not really the question I'm asking.
The question is why now?
Because a lot of people are saying it's a bad economy, we just came off of an
Well,
override,
in the Georgetown
money
record,
is
there was
tight.
that
Why-
large, there was that very long letter, which was very much to that question.
So the question is, why wouldn't we wait? Why
What
is
are
it important to do it now?
Because
When do we
we're in the
start
queue
paying on
for-
the bond?
Those were-
Sorry?
When do we start paying on the bond?
Year after we borrow it.
So if we borrow it in the summer, start the summer of 13, we won't pay until the summer to fall of 14.
But the interest starts accruing day one,
Yeah, but.
so you are
we
gonna
don't
pay
start-
for it.
Yeah,
And
we
it's
start
not cheap,
paying,
it's
paying.
not free.
Well, I'm just trying to think of
We may not
things.
have to advance all the money, I don't wanna steal Mike's thunder, but.
No, I know you don't. But-
So,
Yeah, the first 3 years, you'll just probably borrow as you go.
Right,
You'll have the
exactly.
full authorization, but you'll borrow as you go, and
Right.
when the job is all done, then you'll have the whole.
You know,
thing
it's
borrowed
an
out.
interesting question, why now, because it's kind of a catch-22 to answer, and the question really is, why not now? I mean, you know, why now? Clearly, the 20 million coming from the state is a huge reason, an enormous reason. Why now?
and we're in the queue. Why now is
And it's-
because
and
we
it's
applied, and we're in the queue.
And there's a need.
And there's, you know,
And if you
besides all
don't-
those other issues.
Yeah, there's a
from
need,
There's a need
state has
for-
agreed to,
Right.
to, fund part of
It's
it
not gonna get
to a
cheaper.
great extent,
Right.
a very high extent.
Why now is we put in for it, and we got accepted.
And I'm just wondering if
I
there's
don't know
anything
if
with the
this-
economy the way it is, and the reason I was asking that was, you know, the economy right now is not that great, it's getting better. It's actually supposed to be staying at a steady pace, but nothing great for the next 4 years or 5 years or so. But it's a time when in construction, the costs are down,
Interest rates are below.
and
Right.
interest rates are down.
Huge attraction.
That's all stuff.
And by the time we start paying, the actual monies for it, you know, the economy, will be that much better. And so we'll be able to,
That's a
you know,
big
tie
assumption.
in some things.
That's a big assumption as far as the
No.
economy, but I think the why now answer is, we applied, we got accepted, there's $20 million on the table. That's the why now. Besides all the overcrowding and all of the other issues, and to borrow the money, it's very cheap right now in comparison to where
I think
interest rates
the
could be
issues that
5
have
years
existed
ago.
for
is a
12
good
years
one,
still
and-
are still-
And the 20
are getting
million's a
worse.
good one. Yep.
And
that's
I
most good ones.
and I
And the
think,
overcrowding.
I mean, the dollars are obviously very important, but the number one reason why we're doing this is for the children, and so that, you know, no
Children
more
deserve
kids have to sit in a classroom without heat. I know my son has had to do it, and, you know, that's why we're doing it now.
Yeah.
They get one shot, they get one shot at this.
Wanna go to
in their
school in a
time.
tank top because it's so hot.
Yeah.
We've waited long enough.
Yeah.
But
We waited
did
too
Mike
long.
have new numbers for us?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
I
we
gotta
have.
go.
bunch
All right,
of
Mike,
numbers.
you can do the numbers.
Oh,
Bunch of
I wanted
numbers.
to hear
They're
those.
much better than what they were.
Okay.
Interest rates.
Had a meeting with our financial advisor who helps us when we acquire debt. And we've been carrying a pro forma interest rates based on 2025 and 30 years of 4%, 4.5%, and 5%. The longer you go out, the higher the percentage rate. Based on recent debt offerings by other communities, I was advised to roll back our estimates on the interest. And we're looking now at a 25-year bond at 3.25%, down from 4.5. And by the time we actually need the money, it could be even slightly less. So what we were looking at at about approximately a $2 increase between the tax rate of without a debt service and with debt service is now $1.66 increase, which is considerably less.
And
You still have to consider, that doesn't consider that there's gonna be a 2.5 to 3.4% increase in the base of the tax rate also. So you gotta remember, what I just passed out here, let me stick to my script. We have a current tax rate of 1309. And if you look at the 25-year tax rate of 1525, that's a 16.5% increase. It's still huge. It was 19.1%. So we're going in the right direction. That's full tax rate. That includes the 2.5% Proposition 2.5%, and an estimate of.
Wait, that 16%, 16.5% includes the 2.5%?
Yes, it does.
So if we broke this down to just what is this one piece, because it shouldn't include all the other stuff too.
Well, there's still gonna be, it's a 12.2% increase.
Yeah, because I
Just
mean, that's a
this
number
project.
that you gotta have, because
That's-
the
right.
Proposition 2.5, where we have a 2.5 inch increase, that happens every year.
Yeah.
And that just comes.
Well, people should be made aware of it.
No, I know, but I don't want them to confuse that the school is increasing their rate by 16.5%, because it's not,
Right.
right?
Yeah, that should be broken out, Mike.
That has to be broken out.
You take out, yeah, just let's look at the base, what the school is,
What this project
What
is
this
gonna,
project-
the tax impact
Can
for
you
this
though,
project.
to Doug's point though, can you make sure that there's an
Yeah.
asterisk or something
Oh, yeah.
that explains it's also.
well,
a
everybody
2.5
knows
on
that
top of it?
above and beyond that, there's gonna be additional 2.5% each year. People don't realize their taxes.
But that has
Well,
nothing
I-
to do with this
I
committee.
think people were very shocked at that in the override discussion.
They were surprised.
Well,
Which one was that?
That the,
Taxes went
the
up.
money that was
Override.
discussed for
Yeah.
the 2.5 override,
Yeah.
Well,
people
just
didn't
discussed the
necessarily
override.
assume that that meant that their taxes were gonna go up 2.5% in addition to that. So they
Right.
thought maybe the impact was
see.
300, but it was not.
Can I make a point though?
But this is not
The-
same.
It's at its height in the first year payment. From that point on, it actually decreases.
Yeah.
Because the debt service decreases.
It'll drop by approximately $130,000 a year.
And what's
which
the-
is about 0.9%.
Right, but what's that in terms of dollars? We were at $1.66, we'll drop in the second year to about, what?
Yeah, you're right. Look.
$1.50 something, then, it
Well,
actually,
it'll go down 1%.
so 1% of
Over
$1.06, 16 cents, right?
So it puts it at $1.50?
So each year it decreases to a point where it disappears, but it does decrease on an annual basis.
But it doesn't mean your taxes decrease.
No, because your taxes are gonna go up 2.5% no matter what. But there's also other things that are involved in this, that other debt service that's gonna fall off, that will give a little bit of tax relief in the tax rate per thousand. But that's assuming we're not buying any new fire trucks and we're not buying any new equipment, just like, so there could be some additional savings. That's at the height. It's $1.66 to the tax rate at the highest payment, right, Mike? Am I
Yeah.
saying that right?
Mhm.
From there, it does
That's-
decrease.
That's worst case scenario.
Right, that's
It
the
gets
first
less
big payment,
onerous as we go.
right, and
So how much of a difference does it goes up, what, $1 and what?
166,
166, and what is it at its low point?
I haven't calculated that.
it goes from $1.8 million to $1 million, so it almost cuts it in half. So you're probably in that 75-cent range,
I'm lost.
80-cent range.
I'm a little lost here, so.
Okay, so this is my business, see, you guys are architects.
Look at the middle.
Maybe a little
section.
higher.
No, I
90
wanna
cents?
hear this, I wanna hear
So,
what he's saying.
so at $1.66 per,
No, so we take out this bond.
Yep.
And every year we have to pay back the bond,
right,
right? And that's directly goes back to how much taxes each and every one of us in this whole community will pay.
right,
So the amount that we pay back on the bond goes down every year?
yes.
Yeah, wait, David, I misspoke too. The 130,000, that's just the difference between 20 and 25 years.
Yeah,
The
it's
actual-
33,000.
It's 33,000 that drops per year.
Right.
So it's minuscule.
Right, but when you get into years 10,
That was a switch.
15, you're dropping $400,000 a year in debt service. So that is significant. It will bring it down. And listen, this is a huge amount of money, don't get me wrong. But at its height, it adds $1.66 to the tax base, right, per thousand.
First year.
In its first year. But from there, it does decrease very little. But where you start to see the real decrease is when you get down to probably in that 12.5 to 13-year range, you're looking at a $300,000 to $400,000 decrease.
David, just to clarify that for me, so in the annual debt service, I don't know if
Look
I'm
at the middle
looking
column.
right-
Everybody
Oh,
look at the middle column
column.
real quick.
All right,
I'll
middle
show you.
column.
See that 1,879,181?
Yeah.
That represents $1.66 in the tax rate for that year. The next year, it drops, our payment drops a little bit, so the effect on the tax rate for this particular project may drop to $1.63. I'm just,
Okay, so.
then then to $1.60, then to $1.57.
Yeah, so
Each year it'll
so
drop
at
a little bit.
So at the beginning, it's at $1.66.
$1.66.
And it drops to $1.23
When?
at the end. 25 years.
I don't know what that number is.
I don't
but
either. I just threw it out.
But from a percentage basis, you're dropping $800,000 off,
Yeah.
which is more than, well, it's less than half, so it's
half.
probably,
Oh, yeah.
so $1.66,
98 cents.
about 90 cents.
Probably
Yeah, so you may, as time goes on, it'll drop, because it's a fixed interest rate, the rate doesn't float.
So that's important. I mean, that's.
At its height, it's $1.66, yeah. At the-
You know,
the
what is
maximum.
important about that for me, for example, as just a citizen, I always was thinking that the debt exclusion that number was what you were paying.
Constant.
Constant.
I did too.
No,
And
no, we'll only levy the amount up to the.
That's
payment,
big.
right?
So somehow we gotta say that it starts out at $1.66, and at the end of the term, it'll go down gradually to 98 cents,
Whatever that number is.
whatever it is. So, and that's important.
I think that's very
We
important.
have three
I
other
just learned
bonds
something quite-
that are debt excluded as well, and every year that debt exclusion gets smaller
Yeah.
and smaller.
But I think
See, people,
sticking to what this project's impact is on the community is important for us to state. Has nothing to do with the 2.5%, because that's all the other costs that the town runs on,
Right.
and
And that's
everything
for us
else.
to say during the meeting, for the selectmen to say.
Exactly.
That's fine.
And I think that range is important to understand too. So if you can run those numbers, and if you can come up with some wonderful way to say it that it's simple for the layperson
Just check
like
and
me,
see.
that would be good.
It's still a lot of money.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's absolutely a lot of
Huge
money,
amount.
but to hear $1.66 and going down to 98 or whatever that number is going to be,
Right.
that's huge.
And it's not
Yeah, it
permanent.
does.
That's huge.
But you don't see that, till the last payment.
No, but
It's gradually
It
coming
gradually
down.
does decrease. It's
No,
still
I
a
mean,
huge, right.
It's different than you coming to me and saying, Jeff, you have to pay me $100 a year for the next 25 years, or you're going to pay me $100, and the last year
97,
it's
then
going to
90.
keep going down until the last year you're only going to be paying me $45.
Right.
And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to go, wow, that's not as bad as I thought it was. It's still a lot of money, but you know, it
When
makes a
I'm 90
difference.
years old.
Well, yeah, no, Doug, I'm
Doug,
with
did
you. I'll
you have
be,
something?
Well, yes, I do.
77.
Your average person is not gonna understand, and sitting here, it's implying that somehow they're paying less. They will never pay less. The tax rate will be what it is. It will go up every year unless everything remains flat, okay? To try to get in there and try to convince them that somehow they're paying less.
We're
It's
not-
gonna work.
No,
That's
that's
not what we're saying.
Is that how that
It's
came
not
about?
That's how,
Doug, is that how it
that's
came
how
across?
it will be interpreted.
Well, that's
It's not
your
it- that's not
interpretation,
it
that's
at
not
all.
what we're
You're-
saying.
I'm sorry, but you all may have college degrees, but there's a lot of people that don't.
We're
They
not
don't
talking- I
understand
think the di-
finance at all.
I
That's
think
fine.
the
They're
difference
just
is that
muddying
we're
the
not
water.
talking about the overall tax rate of the town, because that's not in our purview. That's not part of this committee. And will taxes keep going up? Yes.
Of course.
We have a 2.5% proposition, so it goes up by that every year, plus whatever anybody adds to it.
People understand that
so-
their tax rate went up $1.66. That's what they understand.
Right. Well, I mean, and
Not the
again,
fact that they pay less debt service. People who own houses understand that things amortize, maybe this amortizes differently, okay? But still.
well,
come up with
I
something.
still think we need to make the attempt to explain
Yes.
that at its maximum height that we're borrowing, the effect is, and if Mike's numbers are right, $1.66 effect on the tax rate. From there, it does decrease. Are you gonna see a reduction in your taxes? Probably not. You might. In other words, you might have, if it stayed at $1.66 and you had 2.5% to, right, 2.5% to it, in the first year, you're not gonna see any relief. The next year, it's minuscule. It doesn't really take, like I said, it's in that year 15, 12, where you start to see a little bit more of an effect.
Even more importantly, the effect on your tax rates by this project starts out at $1.66, and each year for the next 25 years, it is less and less
Right.
until it hits a low of 98 cents
Right.
or whatever it is.
But that doesn't mean your
Per year.
taxes are gonna go down, and that's what we have to
Yeah.
explain to people.
Right.
I understand
Right.
that. But you know what? Let's talk about this for 1 second. It may be a little far out there, but in all honesty, taxes going up 2.5%, 10 years from now, at our size, we may be at the point where we don't raise taxes by 2.5%, because we have enough in our budget and where we're at. We don't wanna, again, price people out of the market 10 years from now. You know, that's a big assumption that's saying the taxes are gonna go up 2.5% every single year. They may in the immediate future, the next short term, 5, 6, 7 years, but after that, we may get to a point where we have enough money to
Everything
run our
other than
operating
right
budget.
now is speculative.
Right, because inflation's at 0. So, I mean, you know, it's all speculative, right?
Well, and I think it's
I'm
important
hoping we get
because-
to a point where we don't have to raise taxes. We say, hey, the tax increase for this year is 1%, because we've got everything to a point where, you know, we've got it managed. You know, I don't know, I mean, who knows? I may be pie in the sky.
National Bank.
I'm sorry?
So people operate from what stays in Hip National Bank.
Yeah, exactly.
But this debt service that we're getting is different than a mortgage, where you pay, you know, the
same
same
amount.
amount, which, and I think that's.
It's simple interest. The more you borrow, the more you pay.
Right,
Once you
right.
pay down principal, the less you pay back.
I know, but your mortgage, you get and you pay a fixed amount every month.
Right.
Yeah, this
I mean,
is
the
not
interest-
like that.
I mean,
Right.
the interesting thing is with this, which this really does fascinate me, but the interesting thing is that every year our the monies that I need to pay for the school goes down less and less, and hopefully each one of us, our salaries will increase on a yearly basis, so the percentage actually goes down even more. If you
You
want to think
can't
of it
use
that way.
that.
You can't use
A lot
that
of
because-
salaries are
No, no,
not
it's
going
You're
up.
forgetting the people, you're forgetting the people that are on a fixed income,
Yeah.
right? You're forgetting people that are on a fixed income.
Even fixed
Yeah.
You know, you may get to the point where you're on a fixed income in year, how old are you, Jeff?
3%.
Jeff, let me look at the numbers here, but let me,
Depending
Let me
on
look
the
at my crystal
presidential
ball.
election
I hope
coming
I'm
up,
not
Jeff,
dead by
you
the
may
time I'm
lose.
finished paying this off.
Hey,
The
Jeff,
point
let-
is,
let's
to
hope
Doug's
Medicaid and
point,
Medicare still.
back to Doug's point is that
Okay.
it's
so-
not gonna reduce your
That's
tax.
a good point.
We have a presidential.
Right.
No, but I think you ought to be honest with people and explain that theory, that it's $1.66 at its height, but it does decrease every year,
Some people
minimal.
don't
They
understand the
did
difference
that
between
last time when we
override.
did the high school.
and a
They had the
deficit.
whole
Well, that's the
explanation.
point.
Well, it's the
Right.
truth.
I agree.
People don't
That's
remember
another
that.
situation.
Well, you
It
know,
was a matter of how much their.
well, I got news for you, I'm gonna say it, so.
Yeah.
And whether people understand, you know, if you don't have to have a college degree to
Craft
understand.
craft a way
Understand
that we'll
that. That's
get
why
it.
that's why people elected me too, because I have the finance side and I can maybe communicate it to some people.
Well, we
Find
have
a way to
to,
so
let's-
communicate
let's-
it.
So
I
if
think
we
it's
get
important.
back to the cost of this project, which is our number 3, so we know the estimated cost of
Back to
46 million, we know the MSBA's maximum share, we know
these are
Georgetown's
the
estimated
projected
share.
numbers that I handwrote in.
So we do want to put something in there about the tax impact because ultimately that's what people want to know. So,
Should we say, can we say it's $1.66?
Well, again,
That's
that's
for the first year.
for the first year.
it's for the first year.
You gotta give the range. I think.
But what does it say now? There's actually some numbers, right? Are those numbers?
Those numbers are incorrect that you have.
Borrow.
Karen.
I know they are because of the
Like, what-
percentage is
do you
different,
know-
but
I
how,
think people want to know how their property taxes are gonna go up.
And
Right.
Carol
Yeah,
made a
tax-
point about doing it quarterly because everybody, because we pay the taxes in quarterly, it make it confusing if you put one lump sum.
so when you
No,
do
no, I think it's
this.
a yearly thing. that
Yeah, you gotta do it
Yeah.
yearly.
You gotta do
can't
a
break it.
yearly thing, otherwise it looks weird. And I would
Oh,
suggest
no, I'm not
that
suggesting you don't put the yearly, I'm saying
Yeah.
you could also break it down into the quarterly.
Parentheses.
Yeah,
You know what?
parentheses, that's all I'm
Yeah.
saying,
I-
don't,
So
At this
quarterly
point,
payment.
can't we assume people can divide by 4?
so let me ask this question, so when you say tax
You know-
impact for
I think you
25-year
can.
bond at whatever that interest
Right,
rate.
so yeah, this obviously has to change.
So how do these numbers are in the
3.25.
first year?
These numbers are
Yeah.
wrong now?
Yeah.
It's
They're
first
wrong
year.
numbers.
And I would put it to Dave, I would put it to you to take this piece and think of a way to show
Say it
that
accurately.
that the cost per year goes from $443 a year for a $250,000 home, or whatever those numbers are, down to, by the end of it, $302.
With a huge disclaimer, this is just this one piece of financing
That's right.
for the school,
I-
period.
That's
Yes,
just
right,
for the
right,
school.
just
for the
Because
school.
that's what you gotta know. You gotta know for the school. The rest of it,
I don't think people are gonna,
No, I think just, what are the new numbers, Mike?
well, then take an average. What's the average then?
What, over the 25 years?
What are you thinking, Mike?
well,
I mean, if you take the average cost, then.
I think we gotta tell them
I
what we
don't
know,
if that's
and the only thing we know is what's gonna happen in the first year.
What do you mean?
Well, that's what this
Your
is.
property tax.
This is like
No,
for
no,
your
no, no,
first year.
but what do you mean by that? Because a bond is a bond, and the numbers are the numbers
I
from, you
but
know it from beginning to
The rest of
end.
the $25 million a year that the town spends is gonna impact their tax rate too.
Yeah, but that's the other
Right, but
part of it.
we're
I
talking
know,
about
That's
this
it.
project.
It's not that, we're not, if I'm not clear, we cannot justify in this committee what the tax rate's gonna be for the entire town. We shouldn't even be
Somebody's
taking that
gonna
on.
say, you told me my tax
That's
rate
right.
is only gonna go up $414.
Then when it
That's what
goes,
happened.
then
You
when
lied
it,
to me.
That's what happened in the override.
That's
what
right.
happened last-
and then what happens in the paper, or what we put out there, or what the town puts out there, I should say,
When they
has
did
to
their
break it
first
down.
tax bill, they're
People only wanna know
so
what it
mad
is
like
out
they
there.
were this time.
I agree.
You wouldn't believe the calls we got.
I totally agree with it. I was mad too.
I heard them.
Paying the tax bill downstairs.
But the communication is the biggest thing, and we have to, as a town, communicate what these costs are and why your tax bill's going up. What does it mean? Break it down by each piece. It's not that hard. You can break it down and
It's too
say,
confusing.
these numbers are from, this one's from here, this one's from here, this one's from here, and this is from here.
Way too confusing.
And that adds up.
You gotta give them one number. One number.
So
That's for
how are you
the
gonna resolve
overall
that,
town.
Mike
Okay,
and Dave,
so I
when
come
you
in
guys-
and I have a project to add improvement down in the bottom of the town here, to add a curb cut, for the handicap going across, for the accessibility going across the street. And I have to give them what their taxes are gonna be for the entire town?
Apples and pears.
Exactly, but it's the same thing as what we're saying here. I can't have a school board building committee, school building committee, try to predict or try to tell the town what their tax rates are gonna go up each year or
That's why
not.
we're
I
only
can
telling them
only
the
tell you what this
first year.
school is gonna make
Right, I
your
think,
taxes
I
go up.
think there's a middle ground here, and the middle ground is that we tell people, at this point, the projection is $1.66, and your tax rate with the 2.5, with that and a 2.5% increase is gonna move your rate to $15.25, year one. I think you gotta tell everybody that. But then what you have to tell them is, big assumptions here, everybody, that every year your rate's gonna go up 2.5%.
David?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yep.
But instead of lumping it like that, can you say, year one, your tax rate's going up,
Yep,
whatever the number is for the school,
Right.
$1.66,
right.
plus, and show it as a separate number added to it, because if you say
I think you can add that,
including,
right.
then
I
people
think,
see the one.
Mike, what
Or
you
you
can,
can even say
Or
plus,
just
plus,
whatever the
plus other increases that happen in the town, like the Proposition
So they
2.5
can see
or
it's two.
other
right,
overrides.
and that's what a lot of people are worried about, is that
Yes.
this is a lot of money. Maybe we can afford this, but what happens
That's right.
every
What
year
else?
when things still
Well,
keep
I'll
going
tell
up?
you, it
That's
may
what the
make us all
problem is.
think a little harder on all the different overrides too. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, it might be what it turns into.
yeah.
I mean, we've all been to all the town meetings, a lot of these overrides pass.
Right.
And in a lot of cases, they're really good, and it's good to do. But I think things like this make you kind of think.
And I don't think we're trying to be dishonest with anybody. We just
No,
want to tell the
absolutely
truth.
One
And I-
other thing,
Yes,
Mike,
sir.
does this 1525 include the 3% CPA surcharge?
See, this is why you don't want to try to do the whole town. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You gotta keep
Okay,
this
thank you.
simple information.
Well, I think
here.
what we can do is put this amortization schedule, Mike can add a column, Mike and I will work on this. Add a column that says, tax rate increase, $1.66, and just show it each year, right? Show it each year, and then put the disclaimer that,
This is only for the
this is
school.
only for this particular
not include-
piece of borrowing, that's it.
Does not include anything else.
Any other budget items, any
Right.
other 2.5% raise,
Additional
no other
increases.
money for the schools, there's no other, contracts for public safety, this has nothing, the bottom line is,
Perfect.
but you're gonna have other things, just like,
Perfect.
right, just like you have a car payment, but you also have a mortgage payment.
That's right.
And that's how, the
That's pretty
majority of
easy.
majority of communities that we deal with,
Deal
that's
with it that
exactly how
way.
they do it. They have a tax rate, this is what it's gonna cost you for this school project,
This project.
this project. And then, they may be other things, but it's got nothing to do with this
That
project.
is important to know, because
Very
Somebody,
important.
but somebody
People
at
are gonna
another
think
level,
you're
like
paying
maybe
more.
David's
It's like your
level,
mortgage, you pay
needs to explain.
I don't know how you
Because that
convey
didn't
that
happen, I'm not blaming anybody, but it didn't
without
happen in
getting
the
a big,
in the
long-winded.
Proposition
that's what
2.5
Dave's gonna
override,
do.
and it did
He's
cause
gonna
that
do it.
anger.
But
we also
We
need
gotta
to
do
explain
something
something
in
Yeah,
here.
Mike
this
and I
is-
will speak to that.
But
But
This
what
is a
should we
great
put
point.
here?
This is a great point right here, that she just said, is that Carol just said, is that, the problem was that last time it wasn't explained. And this time we have to hit it head on and say, even bring up, last time it wasn't explained. That this is, y'all got hit by it, we're telling you the numbers, this is what you will be hit by. This is what the cost is gonna be. Gotta be straightforward with them.
But is
Okay,
there,
so
You
coming
are.
back to our
number
sheet,
3,
Yeah, what are we gonna put on the sheet?
don't you think that, if we're saying, what is the cost of the Pembroke project? we're putting down the cost of the Pembroke project.
Right.
Now, we don't have to put any tax information,
No,
but
we
I have to
shouldn't get into the
believe,
tax rate on this,
but don't you think people are gonna wanna know what it's gonna impact?
What's
I
it
mean,
gonna
don't you
cost
think, I think that that is like one of the
No, I
number
do
one
too.
That's one of the
We
biggest.
have to
For
put that in
such an
there.
amount of house.
I
Why-
think we have to put it there,
I think that,
Why can't you say
But Mike can
the
get it
dollar
like that.
66 and it would going down for
Yeah.
the next 25 years?
And over the next 25 years, that will decrease down to.
so you don't
know,
think we should put in and, you know, like,
298.
so for a $250,000 home, your tax rate is gonna go up $414 for
in
the
the
first year. But then,
sliding,
which
you
is
know,
$1.66 per
reducing
thousand.
down to X amount by the 25th year.
So just put one
That's too
scenario
much.
in?
No, there's no way you're
That's
gonna,
too much.
listen, I'm gonna tell you
can't do
something.
that.
That
This,
gets way
the explanation of this could take a whole sheet,
Yeah.
Right, right,
not
right.
one little question. I think
Yeah.
you gotta keep it simple.
There should be a one.
Keep it at the
sheet.
highest and the worst case scenario.
Maybe the average
Yeah.
sale
And leave it
price of a
there.
house in the
And then
town.
just
And then when it gets less, people will be happy. Just
Yeah.
set a map.
say it
Well,
starts
And we
at
can
this
explain
it
that
goes
on
down
town
from
meeting
there.
floor. We can also explain that
Maybe
in
the
the meeting.
one-page fact
I
sheet,
think
like
you have
said,
to just
describing
keep
the
this
finances.
very simple for this question. This is what it's gonna cost, period.
I like Doug's idea. What is the average home
The average
price?
380.
is assessed
like-
price, yeah.
What is it?
300
380.
something,
All right, so what if we only put it in for 380
or 350, just.
or 350?
I don't.
No.
I think you're really just. I think you're not grabbing a representative
I like
picture
the,
of. I like the breakdown that you
I like the
have.
breakdown personally.
It gives you a range. You can
I mean,
kind
we
of-
want to be honest.
Put a line, another bullet that says median 380.
No,
and
no.
To median how
Yeah.
if you
And I
want
think
it.
that
That's what-
people
so-
can relate. The thing I liked about the way that you did it is by giving the three numbers, you could pick where yours is
Right,
and
right,
extrapolate.
And that's what people want.
I think we
I know
just
where I
need
am.
one more bullet
I know
that
exactly where I am.
says the impact to the overall tax rate will be
I'm above that.
$1.66 the first year.
Huh?
And
Going-
Right?
and
and
And then we'll
decreasing
decrease.
every year thereafter.
Every year thereafter.
And just let it go.
They'll
Did you
ask
say
you.
that, David?
They try to come up with some language that would help.
Well, it's the
us,
difference
but-
between tax rate
and
than
send
your
something
taxes.
to these guys.
Can't, well, what if we just say the impact to overall taxes is $1.66?
Estimated
Year
at
one.
$1.60.
Is estimated at $1.66. Is it per thousand?
Yes, per $1,000.
Per thousand.
For the first year.
Yes.
For year one,
year
but then
one.
that leaves it open to, was it gonna go up or is it gonna go down?
Well, no, I think that.
Can't you just say then and go
Then
down?
we'll.
And will decrease
Decrease,
Declining.
each year.
decline minimally on an annual basis for 25 years. Disclaimer, this does not mean that your taxes will go down.
It's the difference between your taxes and the tax rate.
Remember, I think you have to put something in there that says, remember, this is just for this project only.
Asterisk
And
bold.
other taxes will apply, such as,
I'm not
No,
doing
no,
that.
no, we're not gonna put that
We
in
have no
here.
room.
Wait,
Okay, you
this
put that on
is
your
about our
sheet.
project.
So
This
here,
is about
so
our
here's the question.
Yeah.
David, I thought your idea about you could take one whole page and explain the finances, maybe that's what
Yeah,
happens
Mike and I
at
can do
town
that.
meeting.
That's-
You literally, so then you
Yeah.
get at all of the things you're
that's
talking
easy,
about in a.
that's easy.
Not only
Mike and I-
town meeting,
At
but
that
that'd be great
Saturday
in the
meeting.
paper.
That'd be great in
Actually,
the,
yeah, at the community
the
meeting and the
And in the
Saturday meeting, I mean, the
paper,
more
yeah.
people that can hear that from people who totally understand it would be great. Because trying to explain this,
welcome to my daily world.
Yes, right.
exactly, which is
So I
why
have-
you're here, Dave.
I have Mike and
Why
Dave
you're
to
here.
work on tax worksheet
Right,
for the public meeting.
right.
Do we have any?
To be submitted to the
Would you like to
Georgetown
make a-
Record on the following day.
Yeah, I'm almost there.
I'd like to make a
We're
motion
good,
that we
right?
adjourn.
Are we done?
Second, are we done, you guys?
We are.
Little-
Well, the only, but I have a question. What's this thing? What-
That was the first thing.
All right, all
What's
right,
this
hold
thing all
on.
about?
This is
This-
gonna go into the paper.
Is
This-
what we will hand out.
This is what we're gonna hand out, which we will
Wait.
probably be looking to our members to do as we did for this.
Hand out
Wait,
where?
wait, Dave. I created this from this. This is
Right, right. I'm gonna
the
tweak
toned
that.
down version. So I will make the
Alright.
corrections on this
And then
also.
we'll get the.
And then as a committee, we're gonna have to figure out
Deny
how
or
we
approve
can.
this?
What?
To deny or approve this?
Not deny or approve. I'll be sending it along for you to preview again.
Yeah,
But
well,
we need to
can-
pass
Well,
it
here's
out.
the thing
Before
is,
you- before you
We will
even-
not print this until
Right.
October 4th at the earliest, because we will not print
Right,
this
but-
until after the MSBA board meeting.
Are we gonna
This
meet on it?
information we wanna get into the paper,
We'll
so
have to
people
vote
can
on it.
start
We'll
getting
have
our
We need to
information.
vote on this before it goes out.
We don't have to vote on it. We just have to review it.
Well,
No, I think
no,
we
agree.
have
I
to vote.
on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have to vote
To
on it.
approve the issuance of it.
All
One
right,
thing,
well,
can I
all
make a
right.
quick suggestion on this? It's one major thing.
Yes.
Take the town meeting date out. This is a fact sheet. It has nothing to do with
Well, it depends on, it's gonna, honestly, it is a fact sheet, but if the town is gonna pay for this, then we will, but if we don't, we can do, if our committee decides that our members wanna pay for it like we did last time, we can actually vote yes on it, like we did for the feasibility study.
No, not this committee can't. Not, absolutely not. This committee cannot become a special interest committee, absolutely not. No, can't do it.
If we pay for it out of our own personal pockets?
Nope,
You're
no,
appointed,
you are appointed
town
by the Board of
official.
Selectmen,
Yeah.
right. No, can't do it.
So you don't want the
So
fall,
have
we
to take
can't
our
put the
fall town
date?
meeting off?
You need to take,
Okay.
this is a
Why do you-
fact sheet about, because it's an implied vote yes, or come vote for this. You can't put in that type of stuff. It's almost, you gotta be very careful with this.
Okay.
We cannot appear to be a special interest committee. Absolutely not. There may be there's already one negative, there may be one positive. We are neutral. We were the,
Yeah,
absolutely
no, we all agree
positive.
with that. I
Yeah.
just didn't think that.
You gotta, I think you have to take the date off.
I did. I
It's
crossed
a
it
fact
out.
sheet only,
Yep.
All right, well, before we
just like the, this
adjourn,
thing,
okay, so before we adjourn,
question and answers.
so do we need to take a vote if we're,
Couldn't you
we
just
wanted
put,
to?
I mean, a fact sheet, couldn't you put that it's, that this is the, fact sheet for, the, warrant article?
Nope. Nope,
Take that one, no.
no. It's a fact sheet for the school and what we did on the school, just like this fact sheet is here.
This
Doesn't
talks
say
about all the
come vote
positive
for it or
and
not vote for it.
negative.
Facts
Right,
only.
true.
It's gonna be neutral.
So this fact sheet, we wanted to get into the paper and submit it by the building committee. So do we need to take a vote on that? Obviously, we need to
As
make the
as
correct.
amended?
That's what I was trying to.
No, we need to
As-
see
We
the
need to
final.
see one more
final.
time,
Well,
yeah.
wait, we will, like I said, we will send it out to the committee with the changes that we make in red. Now I'm thinking it's gonna be more red than black, but, well, it's not, it's actually not that bad, just the end. With the changes in red, but we need you guys to
So
look
let's
at
schedule a
it.
quick meeting where we come in and look at it and vote it before we send it up, before it goes to the newspaper. Because how can we vote on something with that many changes? I'm not comfortable doing that. I wanna see it.
No, you need to see it.
Yeah, so October 5th? What's October 5th?
Well, we were trying to get this in the paper for next week, because we haven't put anything in the paper yet.
Well, we have to wait until we hear from the MSBA, right?
Next Tuesday?
The fact sheet doesn't have to wait for MSBA.
No?
Next Tuesday
That
night?
we're- This one, this one that we were gonna.
This one,
handle,
yes.
We're gonna pay to print this one, okay, it's gonna be paid to print it. This one was just gonna be an article in the newspaper, sitting in from the building committee, giving people
Okay.
the process and the information that
Alright.
we had,
Okay.
okay? And, you know, if we don't get any more information from the MSBA, we will just put in what we talked about tonight.
All right, so
Okay?
then,
So-
I'll make a motion to authorize the chairs of the committee to place a article in the newspaper explaining the facts as
As we review today.
we review
As
tonight.
amended?
As we review
amended.
tonight.
Yeah,
Second.
I second, yeah, second.
Alright.
Okay, all in
Okay, all in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it's up to you guys then. But get it out to us for a
We're gonna
quick
get
look.
it to you first.
We
We're
will
not
get
gonna
it to
put it
you.
in.
The
We're
only
gonna-
problem
until you
is,
see it.
if you send it to us and we start replying back,
No
No reply
reply
all,
all.
you have to send us your comments.
Individual.
Put your comments in another color and send it back to us and we will consolidate them.
And I would-
Remember that we're
I
just
would-
doing facts.
And I
Right,
would,
Just facts,
and
to
I
get
would
the
like to
facts
think
correct.
that you won't be getting very many comments back because we've gone through this so many times.
Right, well, mostly what we want is you to edit. We're looking for
Oh, you're
edit.
looking for
Yeah.
George?
Edit.
Okay.
Correct.
So now I
Edit.
make my motion to adjourn.
so,
Wait,
Uh,
one guy in the public.
Michelle, you mentioned this brochure
Yes,
being paid for by whom?
probably by us, the
Who's us?
members of the building committee.
I don't think we can even do that.
No.
It has to come out of the feasibility money.
Do
Somehow.
we have some money on that? Because we
Mean
went through
that-
this once.
It's a non-funded.
Well, we're not printing that tonight, right?
Yeah,
No,
we'll deal with that later.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll find
We're not
out,
gonna
we'll
do
find
this
out.
Need to
until-
research
I
it.
make the motion that we adjourn.
So
All in
moved.
favor?
Aye.
We already had a second.
Yep. Right.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Next meeting is on Tuesday, October 9th, here.
Tuesday.